Welcome to the race.
And the lights are out. Great start then.
The Moto2 champion steps into the team that's dominating the championship.
I'm Scott Mitchell from the race. We're here at Barcelona.
Sebastian Vettel is fighting for his career.
There has to be a title assault, and anything less will be a failure.
Oh, and a spin!
You're off the GoPro.
Welcome to the race and the Takanoko Hotel 300 kilometers live from Fuji Speedway. My name's Sam Collins and I'm joined in the commentary position remotely by Rob Barff.
Morning, Sam. Feels like a slight deja vu to be at Fuji again, but here we are. Second time, second round of the championship. Really looking forward to it, and it's going to be great to see if anybody can stop the Toyota dominance from round one.
Well, yeah, this absolutely is round two of the 2020 Super GT Championship. Round one was entirely dominated by Toyota in both classes, but the change of success ballast and the change of conditions as well at Fuji Speedway has seen other challengers move forward in the pack, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the moments and minutes to come. But having a look at what happened last time out, you can see that the blue car Nissan struggled really badly. There were a lot of tyre failures. That's seen a change in the regulations for this race in GT300. There's the Leon Mercedes. The Nissan cars, you saw the red car really struggling and ended up right down the back of the field. Nissan have improved here. We'll talk about qualifying in a moment. Now, Rob, what did you take away from this opening race and this absolute dominance from the Toyota Supra?
Yeah, the Toyota Supra, Sam, had clearly been sandbagging in pre-season testing. Everybody had their eyes, including me, on the Honda NSXs. They'd been fantastically quick in pre-season testing. And yeah, the Toyotas just came from nowhere. The Keeper Toms here car won GT500 and the Green Brave car won GT300. So Toyota dominance, and everybody had been looking at the Hondas, really, me included.
Yeah, I mean, we expected a lot more from that new front-engined Honda NSX, and it's built under the new Class 1 Plus Alpha regulations. And so the Supra, and so is the Nissan. These are all new cars, only one race under the belt, but there were new cars in GT300 too. But GT300, after those tyre changes, has changed its pit stop rules. No more 2 tyre changes or no tyre stops in that class allowed. Also, 3 kilos per point of success ballast. So you're going to see a very different order in the second class of Super GT today. It is going to be a very unpredictable race, and I believe we've got qualifying highlights to take a look at. So we should be able to see some of those coming up right now. And as you can see, the weather was not, well, it was very typical Fuji, but very different. And the Lotus Evora, which wasn't particularly on the pace last week, well, at the last race, has come along to Fuji Speedway for this second round with a new rear wing. And Hiroki Kato really made that work to his best effect. He put that car way up the order, and now these JAF GT300 mother chassis cars are looking extremely strong in this second round. But the JAF GT300 cars are also looking particularly strong, though the Toyota Prius was a bit further down. This is the car to watch, though. This is the Inging Motorsport run at GT86, and that's at pole position in at GT300. First time the team has done that, and it's been the first time in quite a long while that the GT86 is on pole at a Super GT race. In at GT500, it was a different story, but first of all, that is the rounding out the top 3 of GT300. You've got the GT3 specification Honda NSX from Arta Autobacks. That had a very good run. But I was mentioning that Toyota Prius. You can see that number 30 down in 13 at the point this clip was taken. Moved up a little bit later on, but that wasn't ideal.
The success ballast really hitting our round one winner, Sam, the Green Brave GR Supra there. P9 for them, they only start. So moving into GT500, here we see one of those cars I was talking about earlier in the pre-season testing. This is the Arta NSX, followed by the Keihin NSX there. They were looking particularly quick early on. The Calsonic iconic blue car, the Nissan GTRs also performing better, but there's part of the Toyota Steamroller.
And it was interesting to see that the red car and blue car were so close to each other in performance that they are starting next to each other on the grid. Now, that's always come with some slightly spicy results in GT500, but in GT500, it was a Honda on top for the first time this season. Will they be able to keep that going? The Arta Autobacks car in GT500 looking extremely strong. They will start the race right up at the front. Now, will Honda be able to keep that form going into the first lap? To tell us a little bit more about the inside of what's going on in the world of Super GT from a driver's point of view, I caught up with Jann Mardenborough yesterday, and just as he was heading off to the track, we wanted to find out what he was thinking about going into the race. So have a catch up of what I was talking to him about, and it's in English, not Welsh.
Jann, first round wasn't the best for Nissan or indeed you and your team. How did it go from where you were sat?
It was tough. It was a challenging weekend, to say the least. But this weekend, we hope to have cured fixed our problems from round one. They were fairly obvious for everyone to see. So, yeah, soon find out Saturday morning in practice whether or not it's going to be a good weekend. Fingers crossed. The guys at Nismo have been hard at work to solve our issues.
Are you expecting to be mixing it up with the Toyotas this week?
Expecting. I'm always positive thinking, and the car has got some potential. The Supra and the Honda, they are fast. They really nailed it this year. Whereas in testing, we've topped some time sheets as well. So there is potential in the GTR. And actually, at the first round, Harate in car 3, they made it to Q2 in the GTR. Their time was about 1:20. I think they were only 4/10 off or 3/10 off pole. So there's pace in the car. We've just got to find it more consistently. So hoping for round 2, everything else, all our problems are fixed, and we can actually challenge the front guys. The cars are going to be heavy this weekend as well. So my roommate Nick, his car's going to be heavy. Car 36 also. So yeah, there'll be more chances to be at the sharp end.
Now you're driving for Masahiko Kondo this season, as recently. Have you got any of his music?
I don't. I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it because he's huge here. We have a load of fans come to the track. Well, last year anyway. This year, no fans so far. But, there's hundreds of fans lined out our track, and they're all there to see the Kondo-san. None for the drivers. It's just all Kondo-san. He's huge. Even now, in the 80s and 90s, he was big. But even now, he's huge, very popular still.
It's going to be interesting to see how you get on this weekend. Good luck, Jann Mardenborough. We'll be rooting for you indeed, and watching you do your thing around Fuji Speedway for the second time this season.
Thanks, guys. Ciao.
Well, Jann didn't have the best qualifying. He starts the race at the back of the GT500 pack, a little way back from the next nearest car as well. Rob, that's got to be a little bit demoralising. You know Jann particularly well. You've driven with him a fair bit. That's gonna hurt, isn't it?
Yeah, and he was so confident about making a big step forward this weekend. Both he, the team, and Nismo said that they were confident they'd found what the issues were, and they were hoping to move forward. Remember, Jann, in pre-season testing, Sam, was the quickest of the Nissan, so to be right back there at the back, he's not going to be happy.
Well, the Nissans have improved, but those two cars that are run by Nismo, that's the free craft sports car, which seems to be maintained by Nismo at Yokohama HQ, and the famous red car, the Motorsport GTR, is also right up at the front as we move over to live pictures on the starting grid with the Cintium Lotus drivers in GT300 getting ready and enjoying it quite a lot. We're seeing we're seeing Sasha Fenestraz giving a good wave to the camera. One of the few Gaijin European drivers able to make it out to Japan for these opening races of the Super GT Championship. The coronavirus and global pandemic travel restrictions are still causing a lot of issues for foreign drivers, which is why we're going to see some different names on the grid this week. And we're going to see a little bit of that chopping and changing of drivers going through. Though one team in GT300 had it very badly, that they've only got one driver available to them to start the race, which means by regulation, that car cannot finish the race. I'm not sure that that car will retire by regulation. We might see one driver trying to go the distance in Pierre Levegh style.
Nice reference to Pierre Levegh. Love it.
Always. I mean, I'm surrounded by books on the history of sports car racing. I can't not reference it. Well, there you go. We're getting ready for the start of the 300-kilometer race. Second round of the Super GT Championship, sponsored by Takanoko Hotels. You are watching The Race, the-race.com. The greatest motorsport coverage there is at the moment on the internet. And I think we're going to see a great day, not just of motor racing here at Fuji Speedway, but of coverage online. It's because this is a big day of motor racing. I think we've got touring cars at Brands Hatch, we've got Super GT right now, which is what you're watching, and then later the 70th anniversary Grand Prix from Silverstone. And I think all of these are getting great coverage on the-race.com.
Amazing looking at the heat haze there, Sam. Just thinking about how the cars are going to have to cope. Oop, throw to you for the grid, though.
Well, there is that starting grid. The Yata NSX on pole for Kazumi will start that. 6 kilos of ballast. That's a little yellow diamond in the top right. The Keihin NSX making all Honda front row. First of the Toyotas, it's the Sard Supra. Nakayama at the wheel of that, subbing in. Well, we've got subs in that car. The Calsonic blue car, number 12, is alongside, just ahead of the number 23 Motorsport GTR. The Toms, that orange and white Toms, number 36 is in 6th position. 7th is the Raybrigg NSX. 8th is the Wacos rookie 4CR GR Supra. Oshima will be starting that. The Red Bull Mugen Honda is in 9th position alongside the 37 Keeper Toms GR Supra. Nick Cassidy kicks off the racing in that one. The Zent Supra is 11th. 12th position, the number 3 Craft Sports GTR. The Modulo Honda in 13th. 14th, the very colourful Wed Sports Advan GR Supra, 4 kilos of ballast on that. And rounding out the field, as we heard, is the Realised Corporation Kondo Racing Advan GTR. Takaboshi will take the start, and that slightly unimpressed looking Jann Mardenborough will take the second stint. I wonder if he picked that photo for the grid image. Meanwhile, in GT300, it's the Advix Muta Inging Run MC86. Sakaguchi starts on pole position alongside the Yata NSX. Takagi leads the driving team on that. There's the Cintium Lotus in 3rd position. Keep an eye on that. That's very kind on its tyres. The Subaru BRZ from R&D Sports is the first of the JAF GT300 cars in 4th. The Leon AMG Mercedes is 5th. 6th position is the run-up Revo GTR. 7th is the Mack Sayakan GT-Net MC86. That's Team Mack. The Realised Nissan Honda Technical College GTR is in 8th position. That's the one that looks like Jann Mardenborough's car. In 9th position, it's the Saitama Toyo Pet Supra, which was so strong last time. 60 kilos of ballast now. Hatsune Miko is in 10th. 11th is the Modulo Kenwood NSX GT3. Michigami and Jake Parsons in that. The Takanoko No U RCF GT3, same sponsor as the race, is in 13th, 11th, 12th position rather. The Toyota Prius is in 13th. 14th is the Aston Martin. 15th is the Hitsusuyama Audi R8 LMS alongside the other Prius. Then the up garage NSX GT3. 18th position is the Teddy Bear BMW. 19th, the Gainer Tanax GTR, way down the order for Hironaka and Yasuda, former front runners in this class. 20th is the Impul GT, another Impul GTR. 21st is the Arto RCF GT3. Then the 22nd, the first of the Lamborghinis, the J-Lock car, and then in the 21st, another Lamborghini. This is the T-Dash liveried one. Takahashi starts that. The Cintium LM Corsa Lexus is 24th. 25th position is the Arnage GT3 AMG Mercedes. The K-Tunes RCF GT3 Morio Nitta starting that in 26th position. The Ava RT Test Type X-Works 33 car Audi R8. That's only got a single driver. The Hoppy Porsche is 28th, way down the order for that team. The RQ's AMG GT3 is in penultimate position, and the Shokumu K's Frontier GTR is last in the field. And it is that purple Audi that is the one that has the single driver and is going to struggle to finish this race. But we'll see. It may be hazy at Fuji Speedway, but it's not raining. 29 degrees centigrade, 42 degrees track temperature, and humidity of 47%. It's going to be sweaty in Gotemba.
Certainly is, Sam. I was just saying before you took us through the grid there, 45 cars in total, looks fantastic. The GT300s now having to change all 4 tyres at the pit stop, not gambling and just changing 2, changing all 4 tyres on the cars. And it's going to be interesting to see how the different teams cope. Will some teams be able to change them quicker than others? Some of the more experienced teams in GT300s. It's going to be a fascinating battle. Really interesting seeing how the success ballast is going to hurt a few of our front-running cars from round 1 just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the way this race is going to evolve, how the different tyre management and tyre strategies are going to play in as the national anthem begins. Well, the solemn national anthem of Japan always, for me, signifies the start of some great motorsport action. Japan has, in my opinion, the finest motorsport scene in the world. And thanks to the Takanoko Hotel, who are sponsoring this race. There's their logo. And they are showing us that support for this race. And that's probably a message to the drivers for good luck. Well, it's going to be great. Will Nire Fukuzumi and Bertie Baguette be able to get those Bridgestone shod Hondas off the line around this 4.563 meter, well, 4.56 kilometer rather, Fuji Speedway circuit? Originally built as a oval course for NASCAR racing, the Japanese changed their mind halfway through building it, built a road course instead, on the advice of the then not Sir Sterling Moss, which is an interesting one. Rob, would you have carried on with a banked oval here in the middle of the foothills of Mount Fuji, which you can just about see Fuji-san itself in the gloom there?
Yeah, I was just peering through the fog. It seems strange to be building a NASCAR track so far from Charlotte, North Carolina, but what we're left with here is the 5th configuration of the Fuji Motor Speedway, and yeah, looking at it around the gloom today, it's a fantastic venue. You know, looking at the final sector here, lots of opportunity for overtaking, and that massive long front straight here, almost a mile in length, 1,475 meters. You can see the cars lined up on it now. It's one of the longest straights at any Formula One circuit, and we saw massive overtaking opportunity in the first race a couple of weeks ago into turn 1. Very hard on the brakes down there into turn 1 as well, so we've got endurance to be taken into consideration as well. All the races this year, Sam, less than 300 kilometers.
オートバックススーパー GT シリーズ第2戦高野のホテル
Well, this is Eiichi Kukamura, who is the director and senior managing executive officer of Autobax 7 Co. Limited, the series sponsor of the 2020 Super GT Championship, as they have been forever. But he's best known to all of us as Mr. Orange Jacket.
I can't believe he talked over him. I stopped. I wanted to hear what he was going to say.
He was saying he was wishing the drivers very good luck and it's going to be a great race. That's what he usually says. And there's the lady from Fuji Speedway telling us it's 1 minute to the start of the race. And she walks.
Do you have a pair of boots like that, Sam?
I do, yeah. I'm going to wear them later. If you have never watched Super GT before, you are in for a treat. There are two classes of racing. GT500 for manufacturer-backed cars, kicking out, it's meant to be 500 brake horsepower. In reality, it's close to 650 brake horsepower. Each car uses an identical carbon fiber monocoque, transmission, and general suspension components, but manufacturers develop their own bodies and engines. There is open engine development, pre-chamber ignition, direct injection. These are very much like Formula One power units, except they don't have the hybrid components. Turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engines rather than V6s, 2 litres in capacity, and they sound amazing, as you're about to hear. Behind them you have GT300, a class for privateers primarily, though there's a few sneaky works cars in there like the Subaru and one of the BMWs. You will see a mix of FIA GT3 cars, which you will be familiar with. You will also see the JAF GT300 cars. These are production cars, including the Toyota Prius. Yes, I said Toyota Prius, which have been heavily modified to go racing, to the point that the Prius is fitted with a GT3 Lexus engine and will race alongside with its Hydem on that. There's 2 of those cars, and they are the loudest cars in Super GT at present. The ground literally shakes and sets off the seismometers on Fuji Speedway as they go down the start-finish line. Then you have the JAF GT300 mother chassis cars. These, like GT500 cars, have identical carbon fiber monocoques. However, this is a lower specification monocoque, which has been developed by Dome and manufactured by Torre. And they are fitted all with the same GTA non-manufacturer branded V8 engine, which will look very familiar to certain LMP2 fans from a few years ago. And that engine kicks out, well, we're not quite sure, but we think about 450 brake horsepower. Those cars are on pole. Now, because there's freedom of development, you can build the car as a front engine car, a mid-engine car. You can use, usually most people are using the Yokohama tyre in that class, but tyres are super important in Super GT. There is a tyre war. 5 different tyre manufacturers. Dunlop, as on screen, is obviously one of them, but you're going to see Yokohamas, you're going to see Bridgestones, you're going to see Michelins, and so it's going to be extremely close to in terms of that tyre life. We saw some tyre issues in the first race in GT300, but I wonder if we're going to see a recurrence of that. I don't think we are. Those Yokohama tyres in GT300 had their problems after teams ran extremely long stints. Running extremely long stints causing tyre failures, well, we haven't seen that before at all recently, have we, Rob?
Well, and not only long stints, but they were running extremely low tyre pressures to begin with, so the tyres were failing right at the start of the stint or right at the end of the stint, a la Silverstone last weekend. Split start strategy, though. We're going to see 2 different race starts with the GT500s on one side of the screen and then the GT300s on the other. So here we go then, round 2 of the Super GT Championship. It's a Honda lockout on the front row. Sam, over to you for the start.
Well, we're just going to, their cars are going to grid up first of all, so that's why you see those 2 very enthusiastic marshals standing either side with their grid boards. The field will form up, and there you see them forming at that position. The cars will back up into that formation start, and we should see some action start pretty soon. Super GT is about to get going once again in the 2020 season. You can see the cars lining up. The lights are red. There's that long run down to the first corner where we are certain to see some action here in round 2 of the 2020 Super GT season. It's the Takanoko Hotel's GT 300 kilometers again at Fuji Speedway. You're watching Super GT on The Race. and the race is about to begin. Lights go green, and it's a good start for both Hondas. And they're immediately trying to get heat into the tyres, but keep an eye on the blue car and the red car. They're already getting close to each other. The blue car trying to go round the first of the Toyotas, not getting that done, and the red car's having to defend quite clearly up front. It's the two Hondas, and they're still trying to get heat into the tyres. I think there's a little bit more of a case of trying to hold off that blue car. Meanwhile, GT300, the lights are out for that class as well, and the race begins. Rob, you watch GT500. I'm going to watch the GT300 start. We're taking their sweet time about it.
Yeah, watching the GT500s, the two Hondas at the start have just disappeared, Sam. There's already clean air between them and I think it's the blue Nissan in P3, but GT300s coming down, as usual, 5 abreast into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and the 86 goes into from pole position into the first corner first, but the Lotus is about to go up to second as the Honda made a mistake into the second corner. The Subaru's getting very racy. They're 3 wide into that left-hander, and we went to the camera angle because I didn't see who came out. It was very close, and the Lotus is second, Subaru third, and in fourth position, the Honda fading down the order with a lot of pressure from behind. This is going to be very tense in the opening laps in both classes, as I can see the Keeper Tom's Toyota, nearly said Lexus, confused myself, working his way up in a GT500. The Nissans look like they're struggling slightly.
Yeah, the Nissans look like they're struggling, but the Hondas certainly don't. The Hondas, here we go, 2 Toyotas side by side coming down into turn 1, cutting back to the exit of turn 1 there.
There was a problem with the number 3 car. Something happened on the opening lap to the number 3 car. Sorry to cut you off there, Rob. I didn't see what it was, but you can see him there at the back of the field. The white number 3 Craft Sports GTR is now being chased down by it's not Jann Mardenborough actually. It is Takaboshi in the Kondo Racing number 24. Then look at the sparks off the left front of these cars under load. Those Toyotas hitting the floor really hard. Absolutely extreme.
Yeah.
These cars built to the same regulations as DTM cars, but really pushing it to the absolute extreme, Rob.
Yeah, but the long right-hander there, turn 4, 5, 6, is where the aero loading is probably at its highest, coming down into the third sector now, much tighter, hairpins following each other through here, through 11, 12, 13, and then long left-hander and a long right-hander to finish the lap.
Monster gap at the front of the GT500 pack, which is why we're not seeing it, because the action right now is in GT300. The race leader in that class trying to open up a bit of a gap. You can see the order on the screen, who's lost, who's gained, but that is the Toyota 86 that started on pole, making his way out into the lead. But look, Yamauchi in the Subaru is hunting down that little Lotus. We saw that Lotus compete in the Suzuka 1,000 kilometers last year and really surprised a lot of the international GT3 runners. But Hiroki Kato trying to hold off Yamauchi, and I think Yamauchi's got the I think he's got the legs on the Lotus for now, but that Lotus is known for its very long tyre stints. We could see them going quite deep into the race and trying to find an advantage that way. It's very unusual for there not to be a safety car here at Fuji Speedway, as action tends to happen in the first corner and last corner where cars struggle. Last time round, that was the almost complete destruction of the blue car Nissan GTR, as the red car also had trouble as well. But those cars are fading in GT500, but in GT300, what a great battle we are about to start to see, I suspect.
Yeah, you've already made the point a couple of times, Sam, about the Lotus being light on its tyres, and that's going to just be so important towards the end of the race here. This is the first sort of warm day we've had at Fuji for a long time. Lots of the pre-season testing was damp and colder. So yeah, the first time we've been at Fuji in the warmth for quite a long time. As we cut back to the Honda pair at the front of the GT500 battle. Remember, white lights for GT500 and yellow lights for GT300. So there's a nice long shot of the GT500 field coming down into turn 1 with the Arta car comfortably ahead of the Keihin car by, what, a second now?
Yeah, it's just almost exactly a second there, Rob. But looking back to that blue car Nissan, almost 5 seconds to the leader, 4.1 back to the second of these Hondas. However, this is a race that will evolve as the tyres come in and out, and we have already worked out that the Honda and the Nissan and Toyota use their tyres very differently. And don't forget, it, as we were talking, it is that tyre war, so you will see these positions evolve. No real clarity on what happened to the number 3 Craft Sports Nissan, but here you go, that's the change of position in GT300. The Subaru has snuck through into second position as we expected off camera. Hopefully we'll get a replay, but I don't think we're actually going to. Now, one of the problems I think the Lotus is struggling with at the moment is that it is so light on its tyres, it's struggling a little bit with that tyre temperature.
Yeah, perhaps that could come back. The Subaru going defensive there into turn number 1, coming down, like I said before, almost 1,500 metres here, the front straight, but no, the Subaru very, very late on the brakes. And as they turn now into turn number 1, there's a little replay of it. So coming round into turn 14, looks up the inside and, yeah, conventionally done.
Yeah, very neat.
Nicely through.
Director, obviously listening to us as well, Rob. So he's happy.
As always.
He's very happy. He'll be taking over the car a little bit later in this race. What we have now is we have a mother chassis 300 car in the lead of the race. That's thinking from Toyota 86. You can see just ahead. Now, interestingly, the Toyota 86 and the Subaru BRZ as production cars are absolutely identical, but the Toyota 86 and the BRZ in this race are completely different. The 86 in the lead of the race at the moment has that carbon fibre monocoque chassis, and none of the parts on that car, apart from maybe the badge on the nose, so I think even that's painted on, are from the production car, as we're seeing a huge battle in GT500 as the race leaders have found the back of the GT300 traffic. That happens from time to time. And then in second position, you have the JAF GT300 car, which is uses the production car as a basis. So two very different cars built around the same base model, battling for the race lead in GT300. Rob.
Yeah, I was just going to say they look very, very similar on the from an external shot, but obviously very, very dissimilar. But sorry, they look similar, but they are different, is what I'm trying to say. But here we are. This is what makes Super GT so special. The battling, leading GT500s cutting through the GT300s, and this is the time when the drivers have to be at their most careful. Obviously the GT300 drivers will have been told the 500s are coming, but when they're all in such close proximity, it's very difficult to sort of tell whether it's a 500 or a 300, and the speed difference between those 500s is just so they're carrying a huge amount more corner speed.
I mean, if you're going to hear people talking about blue flags in the British Grand Prix later. I mean, look at that traffic jam the GT500s are having to deal with, and how the drivers are using that to their advantage. There you see Nick Cassidy under severe pressure at the moment from Ronnie Quintarelli, but Quintarelli has lost positions. He's fighting his way through. Now he's trying to hold off the Wacos team rookie car, and then you've got another one of the GT500s going around the outside of that. All of them trying to take advantage of this GT300 traffic. It is the sound of these cars as well. When you're standing on the pit wall, to hear them is utterly fantastic. So you can hear that at home. Just enjoy these turbocharged engines mixed in with the GT300 cars. It is just a cacophony of wonderfulness. Nick Cassidy there leading that bunch. Ronnie Quintarelli, Bakino and Oshima rounds out that pack in with the 4 in 9th position, though I don't think it's going to stay in that order for very long, as Cassidy tries to go round the outside of one of the GT300 Lamborghinis. Doesn't get it done, but doesn't lose too much time. But look at that train of 4 cars on the right hand side of your screen trying to get a tow, and Ronnie Quintarelli there trying to hold off the Raybrig NSX. Didn't work, and round the outside goes the Raybrig. Up the inside, it's 3 wide into turn 1. Are they all going to make the stick? Quintarelli's dropped out. The Nissan doesn't have the top end speed of his rivals, and I don't think that was just down to the draft.
No, Quintarelli really struggling for top speed there. He'd already been passed fair and square before the start-finish line, as we cut back to the trio now at the front of the GT300 battle. The top 3 covered by a handkerchief as they come round down into that final sector, coming down into Dunlop Corner. This is where Fuji changes in character. Those fast sweeps of the middle sector, succumbing to the slower, more technical section to complete the lap. And this is where we saw the GT86 in second make that move a few laps ago on the Lotus. Is he lining up the Advix car for the lead? It looks like he might be. Will he look down the inside into the final corner? Nope, going the long way round by the look of it. So it's going to be a drag race down the front straight. This is, remember, for the lead of our GT300 battle, with the 500 leaders coming up behind.
Well, look at this. Yeah, it's a battle for the top three. You've got the leaders in both categories. GT500, the fast ones on the right. GT300, the slower ones on the left, as the Lotus got into the toe of the Subaru trying to get past all of them. Now, if you're enjoying this action, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We've got the full season of Super GT and Super Formula here on The Race. So don't forget to hit those like and subscribe. Smash that like button, or Jutton as some people still like to say. But look at this GT300 battle and that GT500 battle looking like it's about to erupt. The Advix MC86 at the front of the pack, the Subaru BRZ in second, the Cintium Lotus having found that tyre temperature in at third position. This one is far, far from resolved, and we're not that deep into the race at all. It's already getting rather exciting.
I'm already looking just behind, because obviously this GT300 battle has been passed by our two leaders, which are now looking much, much closer together. The next round of GT500s are going to be coming up behind this trio shortly, and that's going to make things a little bit spicy as they come onto the front straight again. But yeah, the Subaru there in second does look to have the pace on our GT300 race leader, and this is, well, where we've seen him look so strong in the previous couple of laps.
Yeah, and he's trying to get that run. Look at those wide lines. This is your sort of department, Rob, but I'm going to talk about it. Those Dunlop tyres now coming into their own and diving up the inside there, side by side, coming out of the final corner. There's a GT500 car now. Oh, look, that was interesting. He didn't get the drive out of it, Rob. Was that because he was too tight coming off that final corner? Because the Lotus is all over the back of him now.
Yeah, there was a whiff of oversteer as he came out, and that's just cost him dearly. He'll have lost at least a couple of tenths of a second as he comes down into turn one, and that took the pressure up. And as you can see there, the Lotus looking to capitalise on that mistake as well.
Absolutely, and if you're wondering, oh, look, the Subaru's just holding him off. I was about to say, if you're wondering the difference between the GT300s and the GT500s, well, you can see the headlight differences. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute when they stop fighting each other tooth and nail, so that'll probably be after the race. Look at the team rookie, though. That Toyota, it's not a Lexus, Collins, going around the outside with a huge amount more power and grip in a GT500, and that's the real differentiator between GT300 and the GT500. GT500 is just more everything. And GT500 cars, though, they make the GT300s look slow. These GT300 cars are incredibly fast. Now, we've got a replay of those, the AU Tom's car almost coming to blows with the Sard car into turn one, but I think that won't be a moral hazard. But they are looking at Sasha Fenestraz, and I wonder if they did hit a little bit harder than it looked like. He's picked up damage. I don't think so at the moment.
No, just having a close look at the AU car there of Sasha Fenestraz, the Franco-Argentine driver, and no obvious damage. But yeah, our battle here, it's almost half, Sam. It was a second. It's now down to just over half a second now at the front of the field. So the Cahin car, the blue car there, gradually reeling in the Arta car. Quick flash of the lights as they come down into turn three. Super quick left-hander as we flash past the camera there, then now downhill into this long right. Seems to go on forever, but the GT500 cars developing a huge amount of downforce as they come through there, as they come into the left at 7 before heading downhill towards that slower section at the bottom of the hill here. So all stalemate at the front though, but they are looking a little closer together.
It's an all Bridgestone top 8, which is an unusual thing to see in Super GT. Bridgestone dominating this race so far in GT500. And that is interesting because both of these Hondas are working with the same tyre package. tyre development is crucial in Super GT. It is a full-on tyre war. Now, with the new changes to the cars for the 2020 season, adopting that DTM suspension, it means that the tyres are now being developed around the car rather than the cars being developed around the tyres. But there's big action in GT300 as the BRZ had a moment, and that could look like it was going to cost it time. The Lotus, though, has got past the 86. We need to see a replay of what's gone on here, but the Subaru is in the lead, the Lotus second, and the 86 in third. That pack of cars is looking very, very exciting.
Terrific opportunistic move there from the Lotus, following the GT86 through. It almost looked like the Advix MC86 left the door open, thinking the large white car behind was a GT500. So yeah, Kato just nipping through in the Lotus there into second. So all change at the front as they come down with the realised car that will be driven by Jann Mardenborough later, coming down into turn one. But yeah, all change. Subaru from Lotus from Toyota now in GT300.
So here is that replay. This is what went on in that GT300. So great run round the outside by the Subaru. Oh, that was just a very cheeky good bit of racing.
Now watch the Lotus, watch the Lotus. Oh, we cut away. I can't believe he took away my moment of glory. He just sent it up the inside into turn 13, and a terrific move by him as well.
All your moments of glory are behind you. But looking behind him in the Subaru is he's still watching the Lotus, because that Lotus isn't far behind. Now, will that Subaru be able to open up a little bit of a gap? I don't think so. That Lotus is showing its pace now. It's coming into its own, and it's beginning to stretch its legs. But that 86, I think, feels a little bit hard done by. And the pace between these three cars, one is a front, so you've got a JAF GT300 car which uses production car parts in the lead, but an engine from a World Rally car. Then in second position, you've got the carbon fibre monocoque car with the V8 engine in the back. Then behind it, you've got the same carbon fibre monocoque with the V8 engine in the front. And there in fourth position, you've got an FIA GT3 car followed by another FIA GT3 car. The balance of performance process in GT300 is a little bit of a masterwork by Claude Simont of SRO, I think.
Yeah, it works beautifully, doesn't it? Obviously, we see slightly heavier weight penalties in the GT300 class than we do the GT500 class, and the Green Brave V8 Toyota Supra that really had the legs on the GT300 field at the first round. Well, look, he's in a battle here in the midfield, so yeah, works really effectively to stop one car dominating.
And now have a look at that Supra going up the inside of turn one. That is the car that was so dominant last time out in GT300. And 60 kilos of ballast showing their effect, though. He's way down the order, being beaten up on by that usual midfield Nissan GTR.
Yeah, coming down now through 8, down towards... No, beg your pardon, no, they're at 4 and 5, coming round now into the left at turn 7. So there we see the Satayama Motor Pets Toyota Supra, the winners of GT300 at the first round. Now this is where I thought they were, coming down towards the final sector. Terrific overtaking opportunity at the bottom of the hill there. And there we see, Sam, the success ballasts, the little weight icons alongside the vehicle positions in our GT300 field.
3 kilos per point, that's how they work it out with one race so far. All those with ballast are the ones who score points, and you can see the effect it's had on their pace. The run-up Sports GTR battling there with the Mach 5 86, in theory an identical car to the GT300 third position car, pole sitter. They're prepared by very different teams. I think the Mach 5 car is prepared by Dome near Kyoto, and the Inging Motorsport prepare the car in third. Mechanically the same, both originally prepared by Dome, but the machine maintenance, as they call it in Japan, is quite different, and car setups are a major factor. As the Honda sneaks past the Mach 5 car there, that is the Modulo Honda, run by the same team that has competed in GT500. But here up the front are 2 more Hondas in GT500, and they are still holding a between 3 and 5 tenths of a second between them. I'm beginning to wonder if somebody has got on the radio from Honda and said, look, we quite like this position between you two, hold it like that. But that's unusual in Super GT to see manufacturer team orders, because it's usually a full-blooded battle. And as I say that, we see the top speeds down the start-finish line very equal between them, 296 kph. We know the Toyota has a higher top speed than the Honda, but it's how you make your lap time. Top speed is not everything.
It's incredible to think about all the work that the brakes are doing down into turn 1, Sam. You think 66 laps coming down from 180, 300 kilometers an hour, 180 miles an hour or 300 kilometers an hour, lap after lap after lap. The brakes do take a pounding around here.
They absolutely do. And is that, Rob, is that because you've got this massive long straight where the Subaru's about to reach the first corner? You know, the brakes have cooled right down, then they get super hot, and then you've got lots of small braking points, and then they've got that long stint. So that's going to sort of create a heat cycling effect on the brake disc, isn't it?
Yeah, and often this shot we're seeing here down into turn 1, you see the drivers hitting the brakes so hard, the brake dust and coming off. I paused slightly. I thought the Cahin car was going to send it up the inside there coming into the last corner, but this is certainly, Sam, as close as our leaders have been now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there are any team orders or manufacturer order here. The Cahin car wants that lead, but the cars are so evenly matched, as I say, on the same tyres. They are struggling to get past. Just passing the Hoppy Porsche. They replaced their mother chassis GT86 with that GT3 specification Porsche. And one of the big changes that team's made coming into this race is they fitted a data logger for the first time. But look at this battle for the lead of the race overall. The Cahin car has got alongside the Arta NSX. Is he going to try and go round the outside into? He's got it done before they even get to the corner. That was candy from a baby, Rob.
Yeah, that was too easy. I think that might have been choreographed, as we see Bertie Baguette. He's won Le Mans in an LMP2 car before now, so he really knows his stuff, could take the lead. And yeah, that struck me as a little bit of team orders. Maybe Bertrand's got on the radio and just said, look, I've got the pace here, please let me by. And okay, they're going to see what he can do now.
That's very un-Super GT-like. They normally have to fight for that. Bit surprised. You sometimes see team orders and team play between the two Toms cars, but look at the gap Bertie Baguette has opened up over that second position car. Speaking of gaps between second position car, there's not much of a gap here between the Subaru and the Lotus still. Little bit more of a gap opening up though to that GT86 in third position. The Lotus wants the position very, very much, but that top 4 of GT300 has been static in as much as it's the same 4 cars that started off with the top 4, but they keep on shuffling their order.
Sam, you mentioned the Lotus has brought a new rear wing and aero package here. Have they gone lower downforce? Did they find their car a bit draggy, do you know, at the first round?
It's hard to say. I mean, that car has continual development on it. It's aero development is done by Mooncraft in their little wind tunnel, which I think is just on the edge of Tokyo. I think it's somewhere near Atsugi from memory. I've actually been there, but I can't remember where it is, with Takuya Yura in charge of the machine development there. The big change they've made to the rear wing is to change the supports. So it's got a slightly different main plane, and then they've put swan neck supports on it, as we're seeing a battle for the Leon Mercedes trying to get into that top 4 past the Arta NSX of Takagi, and it looks like he's about to do it. But yeah, I think they're going for aero efficiency rather than just straight more downforce, less drag on the Lotus.
Are these two FIA GT3 cars closing in on those 3 cars ahead of them? Because I don't remember seeing them looking A, so close together, or B, as close to the 3 ahead as they were before. So those are our leaders there. I think this top 5 in GT500, Sam, is coming together.
I think you're right. Looking at it, GT300, there is a compression going on. I wasn't looking at the timing screen because I was finishing my green tea made with an ancient tea bag from this circuit, which I picked up about 4 years ago. The Leon Mercedes, really thinking about it, you can see the brake dust coming out on the front of the NSX GT3. And it's hard to say. I think they are closing in, you know, Rob, just looking at those times. Also closing in here is the AU Tom's car. And now that Tom's Supra is right in the toe of the blue car. Now trying to go around the outside of turn 1. I think he's got that done. Or has he? The number 12 holding in position and shuts the door as the AU car ran out of road.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit marginal as they come down into Coca-Cola corner though. Yep, Fenestraz got blocked there by the Toyota Prius. Toyota Prius, random.
Toyota Prius, which is very, very fast and noisy with a V8 engine, which is pretty much unsilenced, kicking out around 450 brake horsepower. And it still has a hybrid system, just in case you're wondering.
So here we come down now towards the third sector, as I've spoken about before, as we cut back to the middle of the third sector, seeing the Arta NSX there being chased again by the Leon AMG. He's gone up the inside. Has he made the move stick? So we're going to see two cars side by side as they come out onto the front straight. And who's going to have the top speed, Sam? I think it's going to be the AMG.
Well, there's a thing here, Rob, that if you're a NASCAR fan, that you're seeing very well illustrated. It's called side drafting, and the Arta NSX did that very, very well and got back in front, but he's pulled out of that now, and he hasn't got track position for the first corner, so it's on the brakes, and I think the Leon is through into third. Yes, he is. Will he be able to cut back into the first corner? No.
That was a great example of side drafting, as you say, when he was particularly close, getting the benefit of the tow, but then the torque of the Mercedes, maybe the NSX, the GT3 NSX, just was approaching his sort of aero wall, and in the latter part of the straight there, the AMG drew ahead and made the move stick into turn one. But here we see our race leaders now coming up, so shortly again we're going to see the GT500 leaders put another lap on the GT300 leaders.
And that's one of the reasons you get this brilliant ebb and flow in Super GT, as the GT500 pack starts to catch up to the GT300 pack. The leaders we've seen sort of go through fairly uneventfully, because Bertie Baguette is just disappearing off the front at the moment. When you see that battle go through the GT300 field, it all gets very spicy, and then it settles down for 2-3 laps, and then they find the back of the GT300 field again, and it all kicks off. It's what makes Super GT so special. And when you hear that the DTM is looking for new technical regulations going forwards that are lower cost but still have that special extreme look, I don't understand why they can't look beyond the end of their nose and adopt the GT300 rulebook. But actually, if DTM had adopted the full Super GT rulebook, they wouldn't be having the problems anyway, because the racing would have been far more exciting, because you've had two classes. So I believe Super GT still is some of the best motor racing in the world anywhere at the moment.
Well, Sam, we have quality and we have quantity. Look at this battle coming down the front straight. This is one battle involving two Toyotas coming side by side at 180 miles an hour down into turn one in a field of 45 cars, 15 of these incredible GT500 cars and 30 GT300. So on a 2.8 mile track, a field of 45 cars, everywhere you look, there's action. And it's just such a massive shame that the spectators that are also knowledgeable and passionate are not allowed here due to current restrictions. Hopefully we'll see them back later in the year, he said, looking at his notes, at round 5. But for now, all this action being held behind closed doors. And you're right, this is certainly some of the best GT racing in the world.
And we have to mention the situation around the world with the ongoing pandemic. It's the reason I'm sitting in my library sweating rather than sitting by the side of Fuji Speedway, and probably sweating just as much. The temperature's exactly the same, as is the humidity, oddly. It's a real shame, and it's had a major impact on a lot of these cars. Well, the car in fifth, the Denso Supra with Nakayama at the wheel, is a car that has been affected. That is a car normally driven by Heikki Kovalainen. He's been unable to make it into Japan, so at the moment is sitting out a number of races, which really has destroyed his chances of getting a championship this year. It is possible for a single driver to be crowned champion in Super GT rather than both drivers in the car. Nick Cassidy is a driver with an interesting future as well. He's agreed to race in Formula E, which I think is a little bit beneath him, because that's a guy who needs to be in Formula 1, which is where he belongs. Meanwhile, look at that traffic jam. It looks like what I'm going to be facing this evening as I drive back home after the Grand Prix through the Dartford crossing. which is in England.
This is exactly what I was talking about a moment ago, Sam. Look at this. This shot gives you an idea of the quality and the quantity of the racing that's going on. When you follow the leaders, as we are doing now around the track, it looks like individual little battles. You know, with 45 cars on track, the action is almost nose to tail for long sections of the lap.
Yeah,
but Bertrand Baguette, I'm just looking at the way he's stretching away. It's about sort of 3 to 4 tenths of a second, and he's now put a good section of clean air between him and the Arta car there in second.
Yeah, as you look at the battle for third between Hiramin and Svenestraz, Baguette is really working that tyre strategy now. He's putting down the hammer. Lap 20 of 66, the logical pit window opens in about 10 laps time, but have a look at Nick Cassidy. He's just lost a position to Wacos team rookie. He's dropped back a lot, and that car is moving around. Is that the end of the tyres after only 21 laps? That seems a bit early, but it's unlike Cassidy to make a mistake.
Yeah, Cassidy, I think, struggling there with a little bit of success ballast coming out of the last corner. He's clearly hustling very, very hard, but doesn't have the fastest of the Toyotas out there today, I don't think.
No, it doesn't seem to. That ballast will be hurting him, of course, but that's not the effect we're seeing. I think we're seeing the effect of a mistake, because he was all over the back of the Sard car, and here we go. He goes around the outside of the NSX in GT300, and that was the wrong way to go, and it was the Ricardo Zonta moment.
Yeah, and the marbles out there, Sam, that's why I said the car looked very racy out of the last corner, moving around on dirt and tyre marbles as he came out onto the front straight. So yeah, really struggling for. Yeah, the tyres will have cleaned up now and they'll be fine. But for a couple of corners, Nick would have been compromised slightly.
Yeah, he's going to be kicking himself about that. Some questions coming in. We are seeing your questions on the chat, so don't forget to hit like and subscribe. There's Naoki Yamamoto, another man who should be in Formula 1, actually, and also holds a super license, but because he's in Japan, probably isn't going to be nominated as a reserve driver for AlphaTauri. They've got a number of other drivers, but he is one of the few drivers in the world currently qualified to jump into a Formula 1 car. If the crisis gets much worse in Formula 1, he might get that phone call and told to head to Europe. Well, here's a battle in at GT300, and the Leon Mercedes. No, he's heading for the pits. This is the first of the front-running pit stoppers, I think. Yep, the Leon Mercedes was just about to get up the order and has dived to the pits. Now, he's going to have to change all 4 tyres and can't do a 4-tyre stop. No tyre warmers allowed in Super GT, so you'll have to come back on track on cold tyres. So if you start seeing cars going very slowly as they leave the pits, that's why. And I think, looking at my data, unusually, with one car as an exception, this is the only car to have visited the pits this race. Sean Fong in the X-Works car is the only other car to have come to pit road.
Wow, that is unusual. So we see the fuel going in first of all, the driver change taking place. When the fuel man pulled out, the tyre men go in. Rear tyres done first of all, then onto the fronts. The left side slightly ahead of the right side. Left side done, sorry, right side done, and driver release. Good stop there by the Leon team, good stop.
Oh, there's Amy, she's back in the pit lane. It's a long second stint. Interesting strategy they're going for that. It looks like, I suspect they are doing the opposite of what I call the Lotus strategy, and there is the Lotus. The front of GT300 has concertina together once again, as I think is going to be the story of the race. And yeah, it's... I think you're going to see the Lotus going very deep into the race as we see... That's the X-Works, I think that's the Audi going back into... It's not the X-Works, it's just the Audi going back into the pit lane for another stop. The battle at the lead, you're going to see the Lotus and the Subaru trying to go as long as they can in this first stint, and you will see that whole field compress back together. Just looking at the Motul Ortec GTR, which is stalking these two GT300 runners, have a look in the windscreen. You can see a little light that will flash on and off between two things. That's its race position and the initials of the drivers. So 9th and RQ for Ronnie Quintarelli. I'm not entirely sure that little light works for television broadcasting purposes. I've yet to see it employed at the track, but I'm not convinced by it at this point.
It's great when there are spectators there, and it's great when the race is perhaps over a longer duration where you've got 2 or 3 drivers sharing, but yeah, limited benefit today. Here we see the GT86 coming in for their stop. Driver change and rear tyres first of all, then fuel, then they'll do the front tyres.
Nice battle further back down the GT300 field, as well as that's the Kondo Racing Run GT300 GTR. This is the realised car, painted exactly the same as the GT500 car, getting a move done. I have to say, with 60 kilos of ballast, that Green Brave GR Supra in 5th position with Kawai at the wheel, that is very, very strong to be that high up the field. This is the car to watch, and it reminds me a little bit of the old JGTC era, where a little Toyota suddenly came out and started dominating that race. As Sasha Fenestras gets around the outside of the blue car for 3rd position, that was also a very neat move from a Toyota Supra.
Yeah, extremely neat, clinical stuff. And Fenestras already inching away as he comes round the long right-hander, coming now down into turn 7. Left-hand hairpin before diving down the hill, and yeah, clinical, aggressive move from Fenestras. Good stuff.
Well, you are watching round 2 of the 2020 Super GT Championship on The Race. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. GR Supra likes the first corner, gets past the realised GTR. That is a very impressive performance from that brand new Saitama Toyopet GB GR Supra, part developed by the team behind the 2 Toyota Priuses in this race, part maintained by garage mechanics from a Toyota dealership in Saitama.
I believe it's 1 Prius, many Prius, 1 Lexus, many Lexus, but I'll go with Prii because I'm a fan of Lexi.
I like Lexi as well. Scott Brownlee probably doesn't like us saying that. He's a big fan of Super GT and one of Europe's leading marketing figures in Toyota, and very much in the UK. Very big fan of all forms of motor racing, and well worth a follow on Twitter. And if you are on social media, don't forget to follow the-race.com on various different channels, as the Gain of Tanax GTR is in. That's the number 11 car. Former championship contender in this category, and I think championship winner. However, the Live Alive drugstore sponsored car is not really doing what you expect of it in this race.
No, they've been conspicuous by their absence. There's been a few cars that I would have expected to have performed a little better here, both in 300s and 500s, he says, looking at the 500 car in question coming through turn 1 there. But yeah, here we see the Nissan leaving the pits on those cold tyres and having to be so careful as he comes around turn 1.
Absolutely. Now look at the gap. Yamuchi has started to put the throttle down a little bit, and he's opening up a gap, getting some faster laps in. And look, he's just beginning to stretch away from Kato in the Lotus. Kato's lap times are a bit all over the place, Rob. When you see that, what do you think?
I think that the quicker lap times are coming when they come across a patch of clean air, because half the field now will be looking at making pit stops. So a proportion of our 45 car grid will be making those pit stops. Those are the slower laps, and the quicker laps we're seeing are the ones like now where they're in relatively clean air. It looks as if the Lotus might just have a little bit of pace on the Subaru in clean air, but the Subaru perhaps taking more risk cutting through the traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Michigami here on your screen in the number 34 Modulo Honda, and I'm just wondering what we're seeing a replay of that. It's alongside the GTR there. There's the Aston Martin getting past the GTR, and it's actually the Aston Martin that we're watching in replay getting past the Run-Up Sports GTR. And here's a long shot, which doesn't usually... Look at that lunge from miles back.
It was a Shennington lunge for any UK karters watching, that was, and yeah, an amazing move. No contact at the apex, he made it stick, so moves up a place.
No Nicky Tim in that car. He's one of the drivers who couldn't make it out to Japan for the start of the season. Hopes to be back in the car later this year. Oshima hands over to Sho Suboi in the Wacos team rookie Supra. One of the Lamborghinis coming in for its scheduled stop as well. Very much in the pit window but the front runners in both classes, with the exception of the Inging Run 86, have not yet stopped.
There we see another pit stop down there, the tyre crew waiting for the fuel crew to do their thing as Sho Suboi rejoins the track. Driver in the Toyota Young Driver Development Squad, and yeah, he's a proper fast driver. We're looking at Yamamoto earlier as we see Nick Cassidy. Speaking of quick kids, he pits for his stop.
It's like they knew I was saying the front runners in both classes. Cassidy not having his best opening stint of a race ever, but he is hindered by rather a lot of ballast in that number 37 Keeper Tom's Toyota Supra. He's still one of the best drivers in the world at the moment who is not currently in Formula 1. And I am going to keep talking about that because I'm desperate to see him at least test one of these current generation of Grand Prix cars. Though him going to Formula 1 would be Super GT's a great loss. He's been a fantastic champion for the series. Also races in Super Formula, which you can watch on The Race, amongst a number of other great racing events, which I think you've got in front of you, Rob, because I can't find a bit of paper with it written.
No, unfortunately I haven't, Sam. I was just thinking that was a really clean stop from the Keeper Tom's team. Very well disciplined. They all knew their roles. They were all completing their roles at exactly the same time, and that's how it should be done. Really quick, efficient stop from arguably one of the most experienced teams out there. But look at this action on track, Sam, as we come down into turn one. They're going to have to be very careful here with the white blend line. You're not allowed to cross that white blend line when a car is coming out the pits, which is why we saw the Lexus take quite an aggressive, evasive action.
And then
Sho Suboi up to speed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you see the cars coming out of the pits as the Saad car is in for its drive change. No Heikki Kovalainen for that, as we mentioned. These cars, no tyre warmers, so they're coming out on very cold tyres, and it takes about half a lap for them to get up to full speed, and at that point, they are really exposed to attacks from behind. So keep an eye for that as the 100 Raybrick NSX in as well. Grumpy Producer has just told me it is Super GT and Super Formula Live, as we talked about, but also the British GT Series featuring the world's fastest gamer, James Baldwin, who is racing in that championship. He took victory in his first ever real-world drive, and he's following in the footsteps of Jann Mardenborough, who won in British GT early in his career. And that's a slightly slow pit stop for the Saad car, the number 39 not getting away cleanly. It'd be interesting to see if James Baldwin got up and you know, these gamers getting people, you know, old codgers like you know, Rob Barff out of the cars and putting some real talent in there. Also, the NLS VLN series is on live on The Race, Rob.
I was just going to say I was particularly impressed with Mikey O'Brien's stint in the McLaren last weekend at Alton Park, James Baldwin's teammate. Mike doing a great job there as it's his first time in a GT3 car, as we see Hirakawa and Sho Suboi side by side, two young chargers, both trying to get the eye of the Toyota driver development manager, I'm sure, as they run down here into turn one.
Well, I think they've definitely got the eye of him, because this is a great battle start down the start-finish straight, and it's far from done, because while Sho Suboi got a good run out of the corner, Hirakawa is not far behind. But look, just up the road, you see the famous Calsonic blue car. That's in the battle as well. And then look, in GT300, they're all back together.
As we were in GT300, racing within a car's length there. So no, absolutely fantastic. Round two of the Super GT series, delivering fabulous racing in both categories. Now, will we see one of these GT300s calling for the pits?
Yes, by the look of it. It was very well timed. But the interesting thing is they're all back together, but that GT86, it's a lap down. Well, it's not a lap down, it's a full lap behind the Lotus, which hasn't yet stopped. That's the effect of a pit stop here at Fuji Speedway, and then that half lap on cold tyres. So what you'll see now is the BRZ is going to come in, it's going to make its tyre stop, go out and do that half lap, and he's going to rejoin that GT86 somewhere on track. It's just a question, will he come out in front of it or behind it? Find out shortly. And the Wacos team rookie car still having that ongoing scrap. There's the Keeper Tom's Lexus, and it's a free Supra. It's not a Lexus, free Supra train of cars. I'm going to stop saying Lexus by the end of the season.
And yeah, it's going to be who's going to be the bravest on the brakes here, Sam, into turn one. Shosuboi goes defensive. Oh my word!
Stream wide into turn one.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm just holding my breath here. I wasn't meaning to talk over. Yeah, Shosuboi makes it safely through, and there's the Subaru away after their stop.
I was literally wincing at that. I thought, oh, this could go very, very badly for Toyota. And if you muck up, the aerodynamicists would not be happy if they all came together.
Yeah, Shosuboi says, watch this, and just sends it into the other two cars. But now the Subaru coming out the pits, he'll have a little bit of temperature in the rear tyres from where he lit them up when he left his pit box. But remember, folks, those front tyres are now stone cold, so being so careful to bring the car carefully into the clipping point. The first couple of corners here at Fuji, fast right-hander, then a fast left-hander. As we cut back to the Leon Mercedes, see the bonnet flapping around there at high speed. But there's our race leader into the pits.
Well, the crucial thing
lock
is
up from the Cahin car. Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
That's all right. Those tyres are second-hand. They don't need those again. They don't give these tyres away to fans though. These tyres are super secret, so they keep them hidden. What I was looking for on that long shot was not the Leon Mercedes. Actually, I was looking for the Tokai Dream Lotus or the Arta NSX, those front runners from that category, and also the Inging Run 86. But it looks to me, just having a cursory glance at the timing screen, that the Inging 86 may have lost track position to that Mercedes we just saw, that Leon Mercedes. So I'm just scrolling through my data to see if that is the case, and I'm pretty sure Naoya Gamu has got the advantage over the Inging Run 86.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. There we see there's multiple GT500s now making their pit stops. This is the Cahin squad changing the front tyres second of all, and away they go. There we go. We were just talking about them lighting up the rears to get temperature in the back. That well-drilled Tom's team. A little bit of delay on the left front though.
You saw the mechanic saying, "Get on with it." To the driver quite strongly. We saw the GR Supra from GT300 make his pit stop as well in the background. We didn't actually get to see the stop, but he's made it. There's the blue car making a slow getaway as well. Just behind though the AU Supra, so they're going back into battle. That's quite interesting. There is that Green Brave Supra making very gentle way out. Now look, there's the Lotus in a GT300. That has yet to stop, as I predicted. They're going long in this race. That will be their advantage. The track temperature, interestingly, in the latter part of this race, with no sunshine on this very hazy day in Shizuoka Prefecture, means the track temperature is actually falling, and that's going to have effect on the tyre strategy. However, a lot of the GT300 teams, GT500 teams rather, had looked at the number of laps in the race and gone, right, we're going to make our pit stop exactly in the middle of the race. So they didn't think too hard about the strategy, though there are teams that have broken that, so keep an eye on them too. Sekiguchi in the AU Supra struggling there to get the performance back into it, and he was looking a little bit exposed before we cut to the Motul Ortec GTR making a stop. There you go, Daiki Sasaki in the blue car getting all over the back of that number 36 Toyota Supra, and I think he's about
remember,
to have a
Sam,
very good run.
Yeah, these boys are on an outlap as well, so they're on tyres that are, as we would say, suboptimal. They're not quite up to temperature. They'll be getting there now, but these boys have been like this on cold tyres all around, and Daiki Sasaki there, almost forced wide by the GT300 class AMG there, but yeah, he's been putting Sekiguchi under a lot of pressure. Sekiguchi, very, very experienced driver. He'll know how and where to push on tyres that aren't quite there, but Daiki Sasaki really putting him under pressure now. So the tyres will be up to temperature. We're going to follow this battle, I guess, all the way down the front straight into turn one.
Now, this is something I've seen in the Japanese media. No, we're going to have a look at Sasha Fenestras instead. This is something I've been following in the Japanese media, is that the new GR Supra has a higher straight line speed than the Nissan has so far managed to do. The Nissan is a very different shape of car to the Supra and even the NSX, and that's costing me straight line speed. but it looks like the blue car at least has got some speed in the corners. But now Sakaguchi's got the tyres up to temperature. He's beginning to get it working and opening up that gap from Sasaki. I think Daiki Sasaki is not going to be too happy with that GT300 Mercedes, because that cost him an opportunity to have a run at him.
Yes, absolutely. We've seen so many decent overtaking opportunities into the last two corners there, and the AMG really cost him. So a lap ago down through this section, yeah, he was heavily compromised, so not so good. Little point on the chat coming through, Sam. A few people talking about the pit strategies, why the mechanics seem to be sat around. Well, they're sat around because they're not allowed to change wheels and tyres whilst the fuel is going in. So if we do watch another pit stop, the drivers will do their change whilst the mechanics are either fueling or changing tyres. So they have to do one or the other. And wow, yeah, great battle here with Sasaki still keeping Sakaguchi under enormous amount of pressure.
And the GT300 leader is coming to the pits. The Lotus is heading down, so we will see some more pit stops in a moment. But that was a complete sideways moment, and desperately trying to get past that GT300 86, which is chasing down that Lotus as well.
His flash button's working okay then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like in your road car where you have to pull the little paddle to keep flashing the lights at somebody sitting in the middle lane. It's you just have to press a button on these cars, which it takes the fun out of it, actually.
Yeah, one press of the button is normally like 12 flashes of the lights. But yeah, here we see the little Lotus coming in now. So if we watch the pit stop, they're doing the front, half of it. The front tyres first. I would then imagine the fuel man, if you could imagine it, is now going in. So the tyre man will now wait until the fuel man has finished his job, and then they'll change the rear tyres, then they'll rejoin. Meanwhile,
yeah, that wasn't the best placed officials box, a TV camera and pit stop combination. Here is another pit stop which we can see clearly though. That is the 34 Honda NSX in GT300. And as you can see, the fuel is going in and the tyre changes are just sort of sitting waiting to be allowed to touch the car. And you sometimes see front tyres, fuel, rear tyres, as Rob said. Sometimes you see left and right as the Lotus rejoins the track. Where are his rivals? He's got half a lap on those cold tyres. There's the Subaru. His lights flashing at a lap down at GT300 Mercedes. And the Lotus needs to get its headlights working, which don't seem to be working very often. But that's a bit of a gap. Now, I think the Subaru will be back on terms with the Lotus in a few corners time, but I think the Lotus still has edged a slight advantage. Where is the MC86 run by Inging? And also, just keep an eye on the Leon Mercedes. Made that very early stop, going for that very long second stint. They could be in the picture here.
They could. I know I say this every single round, Sam, but they should make a road car of that little Subaru 86. I just think it's fantastic. You imagine number plates on the front of this. That would look, as we see our first puncture of the day. Looks like a right rear puncture for the GT300 Audi.
Well, this is interesting because this is the car that I believe isn't able to finish the race. So, and that was the D-Station Aston Martin coming in. That's one of the forward runners in the GT300 class, getting really rather close to it, and that was not well timed. Now he's stopping in the Colles LMP1 Memorial Fire spot underneath the race control building. That might be the race for that car.
Yeah, it looks like a right rear puncture, but it does look like he's parked it. Now we see the Arta NSX coming in for their stop.
The only GT500 runner then that I can see who hasn't made his pit stop is Mitsunori Takaboshi in the Kondo Racing run at Yokohama Shod Nissan at GTR. And that means Jann Mardenborough is still in the garage, waiting to have his turn, and Takaboshi is hogging all the time at the moment. But that car should now just about move into the lead of this race, which we didn't expect when it started last in class.
So there we see the left front tyre man waiting. Fuel is now out. Tyres get changed, radiators quick clean, and a nice positive release for the driver. That's what you're looking for from a driver's perspective, just real positivity from your lollipop man's go, 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 and away you go. Meanwhile, on track, still 3 abreast into turn 1.
Just something I noticed on that pit stop, Rob, is the right front tyre change. It didn't get the wheel gun on very cleanly and had to go in for a second stab at it. So it could have been a slightly cleaner, slightly faster pit stop there.
Here we go. This is where the pit stops unwind and the ARTA car comes out. I'm looking for the blue car in the background. I can't see it. There he is. Yes, so the ARTA car is ahead, probably 400-500 meters, but that's going to get carved into because the Cahin car's tyres are up to temperature. There's the gap in real terms.
And I'm just looking at my data. I can see the Kondo Racing pit crew are ready for Mitsunori Takaboshi to bring in that GT500 GTR, and you can see the difference that cold tyres makes, where that Toyota Prius GT300 car gets around the outside of the ARTA NSX. The Cahin NSX, somebody runs off in front, the Cahin NSX now, Tsukakoshi is right on the back of Nojiri, and he's got up to speed now, and the Prius has got in the way, and that means that the ARTA car has to go defensive, and the Cahin has got the run. Is he going to get it done? He is perfectly poised for that run into the final corner and round. Well, 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 that's absolutely what happened. He's got it beached. He's beached on that. He can't get it going there, Rob. He's just, the rear wheel is stopped in the dirt. Oh, Nirei Fukuzumi should be furious with that.
Yeah, and rightly so. You know, he was finding himself in an unnecessary tussle with a GT300 car, and he's dropped it on cold tyres as we watch him coming out of the slower sector here. He's already lit the rears up. The rear tyres are spinning. The car goes one way, rotates to the right, and he's a passenger. And amazingly, I've never even seen this piece of grass on the left-hand side. He gets it beached on the exit, and all his work is undone.
I just noticed the girl in the pit garage, her whole job there seemed to be to hold the air conditioning pipe in the general direction of the driver who's just got out of the car. But look, that right rear tyre is sitting on that very thin strip of grass, and he can't get going. Now, we may see the snatch tractor, but that may mean, because of where that car is, it could be a full course caution, or it could be an FCY. We might not see the safety car. It's something the race organisers and race control will be looking at right now. It's a new process for safety cars in Super GT this year. We haven't seen a full course yellow, an FCY process yet in the series. We've only seen a conventional safety car. Will that change now? We'll see if the car's still stranded there. It very much is. The first response vehicle, the Fro, is trying to drag it off and having some success. Well, that's not going to please the
No. Sorry, Sam. I was just going to say, I wonder if he's managed to keep the engine going and keep everything ticking over.
Well, we'll find out any second. Does he fire it up? Looks like
he does.
Now, can he rejoin safely? Because that's pretty busy traffic down there. Meanwhile, at the front, in GT500, Jann Mardenborough has taken over that realised GTR. And the current order is the Cahin NSX in the lead. The AU Tom's car has moved up to second position. Daiki Sasaki in the blue car from Team Impul is third. Sho Suboi in the Wacos rookie car is in fourth. And Ryo Hirakawa in the keeper Tom's car in fifth position. Rejoining the field, though, quite a long way down and being just passed by his teammate in GT300 is the ARTA NSX.
Yeah, very disappointing there for the ARTA, obviously right in the mix for the race lead. And Jann Mardenborough, oh, beg your pardon, no, it's the Calsonic car. I thought it was the Mardenborough car, but no, the Calsonic car and the Wacos rookie car battling head-to-head there, but the ARTA car was right in the mix and now finds himself at the back of the GT500 field.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's lost a couple of laps there, Rob. But look at this battle for third position. Daiki Sasaki trying to hold off Sho Suboi. Sho Suboi, also one of these drivers who competes in Super Formula. Wacos team rookie took over the Wacos sponsored entry from the Toyota manufacturer from Team Le Mans, who are now working in GT300. It looks the same as the old car, but it's not the same. And you see that little camouflage bit at the bottom. That's just a hat tip to the team who are really behind running that car, which is the Tsurumo team.
This is as racy as we have seen a Nissan all year here at Fuji, isn't it, Sam? Genuinely on pace, pushing hard in P3. That's something we haven't said from a Nissan runner all year so far.
Absolutely, and going into this race, it looked like the rivals, the red car and the blue car, had found that pace that Nissan couldn't find in the first race. The Motorsport GTR, though, has faded in this race, but the Calsonic GTR has done very well. But look at the draft that Sho Suboi's got right down the start-finish straight. Daiki Sasaki moves right to try and do it. That's perfectly allowed, but trying to go round the outside is the Toyota. He's out on the marbles. That won't stick, but he's trying to cut back under him. He hasn't got the drive out of the first corner just yet, but there is a left-hander to come up. Will Sasaki go defensive? Not as much as I expected, but they need to be careful because behind them is the keeper, Tom's Supra, and that will be in the fight any second soon.
Yeah, the Toyota, and I do as well. The Toyota does look slipperier on the front straight. The Nissan looks to have slightly more drag and does look vulnerable coming into turn one. So Daiki Sasaki's got 27 laps left. That was a racing driver doing maths, everybody. That's the noise we make. And yeah, it's going to be a long afternoon now for Daiki Sasaki.
Yeah, it really is, and he's going to have to. It could be his tyres coming in. They're all on Bridgestone. Bridgestone utterly dominating this race in GT500 today. The first of the Michelin runners is Chio down in 10th. The first of the Yokohama runners is the Wedsport Bando run car in 8th position. Haven't seen much of that today either. And the Seoul Dunlop runner is down in 13th position.
So here we have the drag race we were looking at last lap. Last lap it was 2 cars, now it's 3 cars. That's Ryo Hirakawa. Is it Ryo Hirakawa, Nick Cassidy's teammate, in the third position? Keeper Tom's car, he joins the duo ahead. So now, yeah, three people fighting for 3rd position.
It is, well, lap 40, 26 laps to go. You're watching round 2 of the 2020 Super GT Championship on The Race. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because I might not be able to say this again, because the action is hotting up right through the field as Oyu and Gamu have a great battle for 3rd in GT300. We seem to have lost the challenge of the Inging run at GT86 in this portion of the race, but up the road there's still a Lotus and a Subaru, and they're having their own fight.
Well, there you go. There's the answer to your question, Sam. Where is the Leon AMG? And it's solidly there in 3rd after the stops, but the Arta NSX, which had that amazing recovery drive here 2 weeks ago to come back up through the field, yeah, they're battling hard for the final podium spot in GT300. But here's our race leader, the Keihin Honda NSX. The Honda NSX is showing a little more pace here, more reminiscent of their dominant pre-season testing performance. Yes, Rob. Sam, speechless there with my knowledge of pre-season testing. The Keihin car wasn't the quickest Honda in pre-season testing. That went to the Raybrigg NSX, which has been missing in action here today, slightly less obvious than some of the other runners, and again cutting back to the battle for 10th and 11th in GT500. 2 of the other runners there. Chio-san in the white car flashing his headlights, with Sugo Matsuda in the red Motul sponsored car behind there, cutting past a pair of AMGs and a pair of AMG and Lamborghini cars in GT300, and this is, yeah, the battle for 10th and 11th. I think Sam's just having a couple of technical difficulties. So we rejoin that battle for 10th and 11th. Rejoin now the battle for 3rd in GT300 with the Arta NSX just nosing ahead for a moment of Gamu in the AMG. Yeah, that's a battle being headed by the Honda for now. Far from done though, with 24 laps remaining here at the Fuji Motor Speedway. he might be able to help. And yep, the Arta GT300 pulling away ever so slightly from Gamu as they come down into the final sector. What would be good is if we were to cut back to the GT500 battle, particularly what we were looking at between Chio and Matsuda, as they were coming through a particularly vicious pack of GT300. Here we see the car in second. Sakaguchi in the Tom's Toyota, chasing our race leader in the Honda. He's in clean air at the moment. And this is the battle for third. Down the inside goes Sho Suboi. Oh! And almost contact there between Sho Suboi and the blue car, the blue Calsonic car. Sakaguchi and Ryo Hirakawa there. Sorry, Daiki Sasaki and Ryo Hirakawa looking very, very close together. Remember, this is the battle for the final podium slot. So Sho Suboi in the blue and pink car. Ryo Hirakawa there in the middle with the white roof on his blue Toyota. And Daiki Sasaki finally getting past for that third position. Sam, are you back with us yet, or am I going to continue to fill? I'll continue to fill. Marvellous. Fantastic battle here at the end of lap 42, starting lap 43. There's Nick Cassidy. Quick thumbs up from Nick. He's happy with the job his teammates doing, moving them back up more towards a podium position. Currently P4 at the moment, but nibbling at the heels of P3. There is our GT300 leader, the Lotus in GT300, as Sam suggested earlier. Went long on its tyre strategy, and that has helped it do a very good job today. A dominant performance from them thus far. What was a very close battle, half a second between the cars before the pit stops, has seen them eke out a 4-second gap. The K-Tunes RCF Lexus there, battling with the previous leader of GT300, the little Subaru. Actually just putting a lap on him, so the Subaru, yep, in second position. And I think he's bringing the gap down. Have to keep an eye on that GT300 battle as that progresses through the final third of the race. Rob to Sam, are you there?
I am here. And looking at those. No, I've missed you too, mate. I've been listening to you. I think we had a slight thermal management issue with some of the equipment here. Didn't quite catch fire, but it got rather warm. And I had to change some things around rather suddenly. We've got 44 of 66 laps completed here on the race, and it is hot in the commentary position. It is also hot on track, as is the action. The Subaru BRZ Car 61 on its Dunlop tyres. Works car in a GT300. Subaru are sort of allowed to get to do that because they've sort of always had a vague works representation in Super GT and latterly the JGTC. They did come up with a very wild design as we watched the battle for 13th and 14th in GT500. Jann Mardenborough trying to get past Izawa in the Modulo NSX. Subaru did come up with a really wild GT300 design, which they never actually raced or showed, and it was revealed just a few weeks ago in Autosport magazine in Japan, not related to the British Autosport magazine in any way whatsoever, and it's probably more closely related to the -race.com, which is the best English language coverage of motorsport there is at the moment on the internet, which is why
Jann Mardenborough is trying to overtake someone.
He is, but not succeeding. Because you can't do it there. He might have another go here and have a bit more success as he nudges his way forwards.
Yeah, Mardenborough looking particularly aggressive here. working the back of the Modulo NSX really hard, making himself sort of obvious. I think it's only a matter of time now till Jann makes the move on Izawa. Is he going to do it up the inside here? No, not quite. So as they came out onto the front straight, we've seen the Hondas do look a little bit more slippery than the Nissans, but can Jann enjoy a tow there? No, I think the Honda's just drawing away, and that could be the story of Jann's afternoon.
Well, it's a little bit at that point of the straight, Rob, that's where the acceleration phase, that's all about torque. It's when they get up to terminal velocity, which is in the latter part of the straight, where it goes slightly downhill, where Jann would try and get the tow. But you're absolutely right. He didn't seem to be able to pick up much of a draft off the back of that Honda, or they just hadn't got the legs in that Nissan engine to do it. Some work to be done by Nissan at Yokohama to get up on pace with the rest, but Mardenborough is not going to be happy to still be behind that NSX. There's a lot of yellow Priuses out there today.
Yeah, they've been right in the mix. It's funny because you see some of the GT300 cars on a regular basis. You know, we've seen the Prius in almost every shot, whereas you know we've hardly seen a Lamborghini today. We haven't seen the hoppy Porsche. The Aston Martin has sort of appeared once or twice. You know, we just can't cover every car. There's so much quality and quantity.
Well, the car that everybody normally talks about in GT300, Hatsune Miku, the Good Smile Racing with Team Mukyo Mercedes AMG, we've only seen it in the background of a few shots. It's barely appeared. Well, in GT300, this is a car we've seen an awful lot of, and it's the Apple Tintium Lotus. Let Yanagida at the wheel of that. Got a bit of a gap now, which is looking quite good. 4.3 seconds at the moment over the Subaru. The Subaru itself has got a bit of a gap over the Arta NSX in third position, and the Leon Mercedes is still hovering around the back of that that Arta NSX. The first of the Priuses, because somebody asked me, is some way down the field in, well, it's in 32nd overall, and it's Koki Saga at the wheel of the APR Prius. That's the red one.
When you were having your little thermal incident there in Hertfordshire, we were talking about I was talking about the ebb and flow between the two front runners here in GT300, and it has been floating around the 4-second marker, as you can see there. Currently now 4.3 for the last couple of laps, so we'll have to wait and see over the last few laps if there's any tyre degradation, which of the cars will be kinder on its tyres, and history probably says that's going to be the Lotus, isn't it?
It does. The Wed Sport, well, that's interesting, that's very late. The Wed Sport car has come in from a not very competitive position in GT500 to the pits, and that's its second stop, so that is not scheduled, and that sort of cursory spin of the rear wheels and the dolly jacks tell their own story. I think that's the end of the road for the Wed Sport car.
Well, that's the first chink in the dominance of Toyota at their home race we've seen so far this year, Sam.
Yeah, no obvious problems with that Wed Sport car. So obviously they got an alarm on the data system, or the driver felt something wrong. The mechanics didn't seem too convinced as to what was the issue there was. Well, there is the Arta NSX in GT300, and you can see that Leon Mercedes behind him, just behind that GT500 car, working its way through the pack.
Yeah, we did have a change of position there. The Arta car took third from the Leon Mercedes when you were having your little tea break earlier, and has just stretched the gap out to about a second, and that's where it's kind of sitting at now.
Yeah, and I think that's partly down to traffic, but I think that's also down to the evolution of the tyres. 48 laps done, well, this is lap 48, of 66 laps. Something that I always forget when I'm looking at the data, that's 48 laps for the GT500 cars. How far the GT300 cars go is, well, as far as they can go before the GT500 cars do 66 laps. So their race distance is always a little bit imprecise, which I always find quite interesting when it comes to the fuel strategy. I'm surprised we don't see more GT300 cars running at very marginal fuel at the end of the race.
Yeah, what's the gap now? Is it about 4 laps that the GT300 leader is behind the GT500 leader?
I think that's what it was at round 1. It was something like that, and that gives them an idea of how much fuel to put in. But it could be 4, it could be 3, it could be 5. You see, so how much fuel do you put in, and do you go for that ultimate edge?
Oh, look at that, the Zent Tsurumo car. We've not seen much of that today. Kohei Hirate there, Chio-san's teammate.
He seems happy. Yeah, he should be. It's they've had a really good improved run from that car. Currently sitting in 9th position. Started really not very well. And the Michelin shod car, one of 2 Michelin shod cars in at GT500, is Chio is right on the back of Ishiura. Now, Rob, you've worked with Chio a fair bit, and I've seen him drive in all sorts of cars at all sorts of circuits. One thing I've noticed about the way he goes through a corner is quite different the way he uses the throttle, isn't it?
Yeah, he rotates the car a lot on the throttle, so where you would normally sort of take a geometric curve through a corner, Chio can often turn in a little earlier, rotate the car on the inside, and then hit the throttle hard and try and get good drive out. He's sort of trying to stack geometry in his favour, making a change to the line mid-corner to get a straighter, quicker exit. It's very interesting, actually.
May the geometry always be in your favour. That should be a t-shirt, but it isn't. Just a little bit of an update. The Wedsport Bando car is still in the pits, and I think that day is done. So let's forget about that one. Other cars who seem to have gone missing are the Team Arto, the Team Thailand car has come in and hasn't returned, and Sean Tong in the X-Works car, also last seen underneath race control. Now, JP Oliveira in the Realize GTR GT300 car is hunting down the Advix MC86. That's the Inging run car that was fighting for the race win. Started the race on pole and, well, has faded in this second stint significantly.
Yeah, the second driver obviously not quite enjoying the same performance as the first, and JP Oliveira making his big Nissan look even bigger in the mirrors of Kataga there.
Yeah, and I mean, it is interesting to see how much bigger that Nissan GTR is, and that's based, obviously, that's a GT3 car, so that is a modified road car. Compared to the tiny little purpose-built race car GT86, he's trying to get a toe off a car that is got such a smaller frontal area. It's quite interesting to see the difference. But that toe is indeed working as they head down start-finish straight. JP Oliveira, not known for not being for being circumspect into the corner, quite likes an aggressive lunge, and here is one.
There we go.
Easy,
yeah, very, very straightforward from JP. I was wondering if the extra weight of the Nissan there might have hindered him slightly, but no. He's got a good run through, and most importantly, a good run out of the corner as we see Hatsune Miku come in.
Yeah, the car came into the pits not looking... It looked a little bit off to one side, like perhaps it had a puncture, and there's no fuel going in. So I think there is an issue with that number 4 car. Just checking on the data, I'm pretty sure it stopped out of our site earlier, and because it's been laid down in the order, I haven't tracked it. Yeah, that is the second stop, so that would have been a slow puncture, and it did look like it wasn't sitting quite right as it came into the pit. So
yeah,
bad day there for the Good Mile Racing.
Did it look left rear down, right front up?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, could have been a left rear puncture out of our view there from the camera angle.
Yeah, so that was it's a really popular car, that the Hatsune Miku Mercedes, and yeah, we just haven't really seen it, and now it loses a lap to the Lotus, which goes around the outside. There's the Hoppy Porsche, also got a lap down, another popular car.
The Arta NSX doing the walk of shame at the back of the GT500 field, the last remaining runner. Remember, that was the car that spun on his outlap, falling victim to cold tyres coming through the technical final sector at, well, he spun on the approach to turn 13, so unlucky for some today.
There are some good battles going on through the field, as always, in Super GTs. The ones that could be of interest are that ongoing battle between the Arta NSX in GT300 and the Leon Racing Mercedes. That's a battle over third in GT300. You've got the battle you can see on screen in GT500, the Denso Supra run by Team Saad chasing on the Raybrig NSX driven by Naoki Yamamoto. That's run by Team Kunimitsu. And there is that battle. Further down the order in GT300, there is the Team Mac 86 is holding off a couple of cars, including the Aoki Run Tome Sports Run-Up Sports GTR and the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, who I expected to see further up the order actually here. So that's a nice little battle which we may get to see in a minute. In GT500, it's almost a sort of a temporary ceasefire with 15 laps to go, but we're far from finished here.
Yeah, temporary ceasefire, but you know, you look at the action on screen there, the cars are still literally nose to tail, and all it takes is one wrong move from a GT300 car being lapped and it's all going to break out again. Slightly brighter conditions, we're just seeing the track temperature sort of creeping back up to where it was towards the start of the race, as we see another AMG stopping. Now, is there a pattern here, Sam, developing?
I'm wondering if there is, because if you look at the poise of that AMG, right side down, it looks like a right front issue to me, or a right side issue. Here we see what happens. There it is,
yeah,
indeed,
puncture.
A right front issue. And I'm wondering, are we seeing a replication of these issues that Yokohama had last time out? Was that all right fronts as well? I can't remember.
No, I thought it was left rears. I remember talking about wondering whether they were running wide coming out of the final corner, but yeah, it's not good news for the Yokohama running GT300 cars, that's for sure.
No, it's really not. Yokohama in GT500 are looking to develop their tyre a little bit more as the season goes on. They've been quite open about this, but looking at this battle at the moment between Jann Mardenborough and Izawa in the Modulo NSX, Jann Mardenborough really getting racy. I think he's seen JP Oliveira in the GT300 car just ahead of him. That's his teammate, and I think he might be a little bit of assistance coming into hand. But Izawa trying to push Mardenborough a little bit wide there. Rather cheeky and aggressive driving from Izawa, who used to race in single-seaters, and I think they raced together in a GP2 or F2 or whatever it was called at the time. Or was
So
Izawa
yeah,
a little bit later?
he's got to send it up the inside here. Fire it up. There we go. Great. Nice move there from Jann. Up the inside clearly into turn 16, and, well, already pulling away as he comes onto the front straight, as we see the Cahin car coming through in the lead. So
yeah, that's not the sight Jann wants to see. Losing the lead lap. That's demoralising. 54 laps complete of the second round of the 2020 Super GT Championship. You're watching on The Race. Check out the-race.com. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Tell us what you think of us in the chat and ask us questions if you like. We'll try and get some answered in this remaining few laps of the race. Has Fuji Speedway, Mag Vanisher asks, has Fuji Speedway ever been run in reverse? The answer to that question is yes, but not in this configuration. As we look at the GT300 race leader, that's Yannick Guida at the wheel of the Lotus. They ran those races in reverse on a regular basis back in the 60s and 70s. There's some great images of Hiroshi Fushida. If you find him on Facebook, you can see him. He's posted those, and I think Super GT World, RJ O'Connell has posted some stories about the Fuji Speedway being run backwards as well. Magnum Vanisher said, can we have a NASCAR IndyCar race at Fuji Speedway? Well, there is no banking anymore and there is no oval, so it would have to be a road course race, and I think NASCARs would look a little bit slow and ungainly round Fuji Speedway. IndyCars would just look slow because they are in comparison to the Super Formula cars, which we'll see racing on this track later this year.
Don't hold back, Sam. Tell them how it is.
Yeah, IndyCar's slow.
There we go. Even if they were slow and ungainly around here, Scott Dixon would still win. As we see the Arta NSX pit.
Yeah, this is unexpected. The Arta NSX has come in. Now, why is he in for tyres? He had that moment. He's gone off. They changed the right rear. Are they going to do all four?
They're having a very good look at. They're having a very good look at the left rear because the The right side is being changed very slowly. The left rear took time to change.
Now, is that an issue with tyres? Because that's not a Yokohama, that's a Bridgestone shod car. Now, is that an issue with tyres? Is there some debris or something down on the track? 11 laps to go. It could be crucial if one of the race leaders in either class pick up some tyre damage. But we did not expect to see that car come back to the pit road. It did have some problem earlier on, but when it got beached out on the grassy strip after that little bit of, after that mistake from the driver, frankly. And that is interesting. I am perplexed as to the nature of that pit stop.
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort of yeah, I'm just looking at the car now just to sort of see if maybe there's a suspension issue or anything, but no, it looks to be tracking okay. It's not moving untowardly at the rear. Yeah, pass. Don't know, Sam, I'm afraid. Meanwhile, the battle for P6 and P7 continues. Sakaguchi and Yamamoto there. Yamamoto cutting to the inside. He's proper fast, that young lad. The Raybrig NSX, the blue NSX there, that was the quickest car in pre-season testing, and yeah, they'll be very disappointed not to be further up the field, and Yamamoto trying to do all he can in the last 10 laps here to pick up that next position.
Sakaguchi in that car, replacing Heikki Kovalainen, of course. I think Sakaguchi is really a driver to watch for the future. Did you describe Naoki Yamamoto as a young driver as he dives up the inside into turn 1?
Sorry, no, Makino is his teammate who I've got young driver next to. Yeah, Yamamoto is an old fossil like me.
Nobody's quite as old as you other than Michael Crum.
Oh, bless him. Almost, but yeah, Yamamoto makes the move, makes it stick, and moves up into P6.
There is the young man, Makino. That's just for Rob to direct his drivers. I shouldn't talk, I always get the drivers right. Naoki Yamamoto there, tested for, well, did free practice for Toro Rosso last year. To the Japanese Grand Prix. No Japanese Grand Prix this year, but does he have a prospect of a future in Formula 1? Who knows? Right now, he has a prospect of a good result in a Super GT race. Meanwhile, we're looking at the car sponsored by the race sponsor, Takanoko no Yu. It's the RCF GT3, driven by Kubo at the moment, and running in 15th position. I don't know where the Takanoko Hotel is. I'd quite like to go. I like those logos, actually. Yeah,
nice. I'd like to think that they're watching, and that we'd probably get a nice room upgrade next time we go and check in.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, last time
a question on the chat, Sam. Nice. A question on the chat from TRD83 Super Drifter. Will Super GT ever come back to the US? Well, not currently, I don't think. There's a bit of a global pandemic on, which is hindering long-distance travel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not happening anytime this year or anytime soon. I have had this conversation with Bando-san and asked about international expansion, and it is very much on the cards. Malaysia and Thailand will be back on the schedule in 2021, and we're really looking forward to those races. Daiki Sasaki really looking forward to racing Hirakawa for 4th position. That's really livened up very quickly. We'll keep an eye on that one. There are other areas that Super GT is certainly eyeing expansion into. It's a case of whether there's a adequate circuit, a big enough fan base, and interest from sponsors, promoters, and of course the manufacturers. I'd say more likely than the USA would perhaps be Australia, and that would be an interesting one to see. Certainly a shorter distance.
Yeah, I always think when we watch the Formula 1 around the streets of Singapore, I always think Super GT round here would be unbelievable. The mixture of really tight technical sections and then the longer, faster sections. I think a grid of Super GT cars around the Singapore streets would be a brilliant spectacle.
Funny you say that. Speaking of brilliant spectacles, there's the Craft Sports GTR about to have a really good run on Ishihara in the Zent Supra. Zent Supra, it just sounds odd because when I was doing the JGTC catch-up videos over the lockdown period, Zent, of course, Zent and the Team Tsurumo were just coming in, and the Supras were just coming in with the beautiful Castrol livery and the Tiger Stripe cars as well. I'm a bit surprised none of the teams at this point have gone for a retro JGTC livery, but I think that might come in future as well. You said something about Singapore and I just dropped a hint and then just went off subject. So Rob and Sam have been asked a question from Personifi. Do you think any DTM drivers will jump to GT500 next year? I think there's quite a few GT500 drivers who would love to jump to Super GT next. Sorry, it's DTM drivers who'd love to jump to GT500 next year because at least they'll have something decent to race.
Yeah, it's a fabulous opportunity for any professional racing driver to be in a salaried GT500 seat, and there'll be a queue of drivers, I'm sure, looking to try and do what some of the Europeans have done before them. I say Europeans, from drivers from further afield as well, like Nick Cassidy. But yeah, seats are in high demand, and honestly, you have to prove your place here. The quality of the GT500 field is very, very high indeed.
Extraordinarily high. There is potentially a very good seat going. It's a question mark over what Nick Cassidy is going to be doing in 2021. He's already signed a Formula E deal. Will he remain in Japan and race in Super Formula and Super GT in addition to that? That's a very, very busy season. And of course, if he was doing double duty this year, he wouldn't be able to do Formula E because it's on at the moment.
Of course, Keihin, race leader, coming through past the race sponsors Lexus to complete, what would that be, 8 laps to go? Yes, so Bertrand Baguette watches on from the pit lane.
Yeah, that was Bertie Baguette's reaction. So, it's only 8 laps to go. It's been another rather exciting Super GT race. It's calmed down just a little bit at the end, but we're far from... It's got 16-second lead, as you can see, and I think that's pretty secure with only 7 to go now. You're watching, of course, the 2020 Super GT season on the-race.com. We bring you every race live and uninterrupted, every Super Formula race live and uninterrupted as well, every British GT race, and every NLS race, which used to be called BLN as well. It's the best place to keep up to date on international motorsport. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And at the end of the race, visit the-race.com because you've got the British Grand Prix following this, and F2 and F3, probably the Porsche Carrera Cup, and some other bits and pieces. And if anything exciting happens, you know people like Scott Mitchell, Mark Hughes, Ed Straw are going to be on the case.
Hirakawa
on the case right now is on the case right now is Hirakawa's case is Daiki Sasaki, but also Naoki Yamamoto. This battle for fourth is going to get lively, and that is another puncture for Hatsune Miku. Well,
there's
didn't expect
something. I see the microphone being handed to the pit lane reporter, and he's probably saying there's something fishy going on with these Yokohama tyres.
Yeah, that is unexpected. Nob is back in, and this is a guy who knows his way around Fuji Speedway probably better than most drivers. And yet another puncture there is odd. That can't be put down to Long's tyre stint lengths. As the Raidbrig NSX there is really getting up onto the back of Daiki Sasaki. Daiki Sasaki desperately trying to hold on to the back of the keeper Tom's Supra. And there's a little gap opened up there, but keep an eye on this one.
I thought when Yamamoto moved up into 6th, I thought that was the best he could do, but he's carved this gap down to Daiki Sasaki and Ryo Hirakawa in front of him, and you know, he's looking at possibly P4 here.
I can hear Jensen Button's voice in my ear, almost literally just saying, Yamamoto's the dude, Naoki's the dude, and that is what you expect from him. That is why he's so quick, and he is an incredibly accomplished driver.
Yeah, it's high praise when someone like Jensen, who has done an enormous amount up to and including winning the Formula One World Championship, just shines a light on Yamamoto, saying, look, he's one of the best guys I've ever shared a racing car with. He's immense, and yeah, we see him now hunting down Daiki Sasaki. This is great stuff.
It absolutely is. Now, this Nissan is a point of interest because Nissan have come into the 2020 season and not performed as they would expected. I think there's upgrades to come to the car within the scope of the regulations. I think they're going to have some engine upgrades fairly soon. And I think, as we'll see in not too long, they probably need them. The Honda is very strong. Honda's development in Formula 1 is going well, and Honda's development on the GT500 engine, which is very closely linked to the Formula 1 development, is also going well. They do share a lot of technology between the engine in these Super GT cars and the engine in the Formula 1 cars, as Hatsune Miku gets out of the way of the millionth viewing of the yellow Prius. I haven't seen the red Prius at all today, but there's another shot of the yellow Prius. That's the number 30 car, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, Yamamoto hindered ever so slightly by the GT300 runners, including the aforementioned yellow Prius. There he is in the background, everybody. And they're just coming now to the GT300 leader as well. As we look back, we see the Max Hayek 86. Yep, he's in this race, as well as the Aston Martin. Two cars that we said we hadn't seen a great deal of. Well, they're battling for position for P11 and P12 at the moment.
Need to get 1 point higher up the field to get those points, though, and that's what equals champ, and that's what it's all about when you're racing at this position in the field. Nicky Tim, as I mentioned earlier, was supposed to be in that Aston Martin. Little bit works backed, I think, that car as well, the D-Station Aston, and be interesting to see how that team develops. There were rumours, and it was just that, as far as I'm aware, that D-Station were trying to bring one of the old DTM Aston Martins to Super GT, and he slices it up on the inside of the Team Mac 86, and the Team Mac 86 nearly got a bit too close and personal with the 64 GT500 NSX. Now they're side by side along the start-finish straight. Let's see who's got the biggest amount of horsepower. Like
Sam, I saw another. Sorry, mate. Sorry to talk over you. I saw another car dive for the pit lane as we see the Aston Martin looking defensive. So, with only 4 laps to go, another pit visitor. I think there might be an issue with tyres here.
It is, and it's crucial because it's the Arta NSX that dived in. That's another GT500 car that's come in. That is very unexpected. Now, looking 4 laps to go, looking at the race leader in GT300, that's the Cintium Lotus. It is doing incredibly well at the moment. It's still got a slight advantage over the Subaru, but if you look at the camera, just at the top of that screen, you see that blue bonnet just nudging into the top of your vision. That is second position. Taketo Iguchi in the R&D Sport Run Subaru BRZ, 4.2 seconds behind, and running slightly quicker than the Lotus at the moment. There are the gaps, you can see them. And the Subaru is just ever so slightly faster. Is it enough to catch up with 4 laps? Possibly not. But a bit of traffic could do it. Or the tyre problems.
I don't think so. I think the Lotus has just come through a gaggle, or was passed by a gaggle of 500 cars, which will have not helped his lap times at all. But no, we can see he's in relatively clean air now. So, yeah, just 3 laps to go and 4 seconds. Touch wood, that should be okay. But, you know, we're seeing problems now with the previously infallible Bridgestone tyres as well as the Yokohamas. So, no, taking nothing for granted. They'll be keeping everything crossed in the Cintium Lotus garage.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been a while since we've seen them right at the front. I'm trying to scrabble around in my mind if they've actually won a race before. I don't think they actually did manage it, did they? They had some very near misses about 3 or 4 years ago when the car just came along. But this may be the debut victory for the Lotus. Don't take that as gospel, because I haven't got the stats in front of me. And I know RJ O'Connell will probably be listening to this, jumping up and down with the fact to hand, but I haven't got him on there. But if RJ puts it in the comments, that will get to me before the 3 laps are complete. The Keihin NSX, though, 15-second gap over the AU Supra. So unless things go catastrophically wrong, it's going to be a Honda win here at Fuji Speedway.
Which is what I was predicting for round 1, Sam. I was pleasantly surprised when we saw the pace of the Toyotas, because they'd clearly been keeping a little bit of performance back in pre-season testing, where we saw the Hondas looking dominant. But yeah, Bertrand Baguette there, fingers firmly crossed for his teammate as he starts lap 63. 63.33, wasn't it?
Yeah,
How many
it
laps we
is.
do?
And
I forgot. Sorry.
66.
66. So yes, so 64 done. 2 to go.
Indeed. 2 to go. Super GT Round 2 on the race. the-race.com, the website to go to after Round 2 of Super GT 2020.
There's lots of 2s in that last sentence. It was very heavy. Heavy on the word 2.
It was indeed. There is in second position. Okay, we're being trolled. He's Sekiguchi in the AU Tom's GR Supra.
You can't buy comedy like this, Sam. You can't buy it. You know, you just have to be there to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And let's talk about GT300 because that's a different number. The leading GT300, of course, car 2.
Oh, naturally. So, Keihin continues his way round, coming through the final sector now, almost onto his final lap. That gap remaining the same between him and the leading Lexus behind in second. Lexus, damn it, Toyota, sorry everybody. So we have Honda from Toyota, and as they start their final lap, I think that's the way it's going to finish, Sam.
Yeah, but final lap is just starting. You're watching Super GT on the race. This is the second round of the 2020 season, as I was just saying. But I was talking about the number 2 as a bit of a giggle. But in GT300, you're not seeing it on your screen right now. The R&D Sport Subaru has really closed in on the back of the Lotus Evora, leading that class. It's 2.9 seconds between them at the moment. He's eaten him up on that lap, just the penultimate lap. Will they be racing to the flag? I think they will. Double wave yellows. It's the Gainer Tanax GTR has looped it in the final sector of the lap. That could be a massive news for GT300 because there won't be an overtaking opportunity for the Subaru, just as he may or may not catch that Lotus. For the Keihin NSX, though, he doesn't care. Car 17 is out in front. Half a lap to go. Kudo Tsukukoshi is in the lead in the car, and with an 18-second lead, gently passes that stranded Nissan GTR and heads to the start through the final sector, through those last few corners, including Toyota Prius corner, which we never really mentioned, but that is the official name of this section that they're going through. Comes up to that very distinctive final couple of turns at Fuji Speedway, turns right one more time, drives out of the corner, takes the wide line and sees that long start-finish straight, and Honda wins round 2, the 300 kilometers Takanoko Hotel of Fuji Speedway. Keihin NSX takes the victory here on the-race.com. Great race. Slowed down a little bit in the finish, but look back to GT300. We'll get that result shortly. Congratulations on the pit wall. Stay with us. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and leave your comments in the comments section. We will be with you on the podium. There is the GT300 race leader. It's the Lotus Evora. Now, just looking to see if the Subaru BRZ is in vision. I don't think the Subaru is close enough at the end of this race. He wasn't that far behind. The AU Supra is second in GT500. Wacos Supra is third. Fourth is the keeper Tom's Supra. The Raybrig NSX comes home in 5th position in GT500. The Calsonic GTR dropped to 6th at the end. We didn't see that fall from grace quite as cleanly as we'd have liked to have done. A lot of these onboard, a lot of people ask about the onboard cameras from this race. You'll probably be able to find them on the Super GT official YouTube channel, who are working with us here on the-race.com to bring you the best Super GT coverage possible. The lights are now working on that Lotus Evora, which is fortunate because he has won the race. And I think it may be the debut victory for that Lotus in Super GT. Great win for it, and there is that Subaru not far behind at all in second position. If the race had been a lap longer, I think it would have been a very different result.
Yeah, incredible to see how the Lotus got closed down on that final lap, and that was without the benefit of the double waved yellows coming down in the bottom sector. But yeah, they took the GT300 win and Keihin took the GT500 win. So our second race of the season, Sam, our second manufacturer on the top of the podium. Toyota take the laurels in round 1, Honda in round 2, and they'll be delighted in Hethel. They'll be partying in Norfolk tonight after the victory of the Lotus there.
Is that because you left Norfolk?
I was there just a few hours ago.
Always a good excuse for a party. There's the Keihin NSX victorious. Means they get some success ballast though the next time out, as will the Lotus. So the success ballast you see in Super GT is calculated by points, and that will just look at those amazing aerodynamic elements on the side of the NSX there. That success ballast means we will probably see a slightly mixed up field in the next race we get to. We'll talk about the calendar coming up in a little while. Stay with us. We're going to be hearing from the drivers. We're going to have the podium ceremony. We're going to talk about trophies, and I'm going to probably insult Rob Barff a few more times before we go off there.
Well, why not? It just seems a shame to change a habit of a lifetime. But yes, very much looking forward to seeing how that success ballast will play out at the next round of the championship. Obviously, our first visit to Suzuka coming up. Very different style of circuit. So yeah, the delight though there from the Keihin crew, taking their first win of the year.
Absolutely, they're very happy. I get the impression that won't be the last win of the year, certainly not for Honda. And I think the Keihin car is looking pretty together. And as the development on that NSX progresses, moving the engine from the back of the car to the front of the car was a bit of a controversial decision in the Honda management and within Honda R&D. But he's got one finger up, and that means there's only one driver. He's lost his teammate at the moment. They'll be joined by a second. But that's the one finger of victory that is mandatory on winning a race in Japan.
Sebastian Vettel's got a lot. I was going to say Sebastian Vettel's got a lot to answer for, and Sakakoshi, they're absolutely delighted to take the win. And coming back towards the pit lane, our GT300 winner as well.
He'll be happy. That will be very, very interesting. Now, it's going to be interesting to see also how these GT300 cars with this higher success ballast penalty plays out going into the next round. The Lotus, I think, is going to be rendered quite uncompetitive. The GR Supra was competitive even with its ballast, so that's going to be interesting to watch in GT300. But we could see some unexpected cars. I think we're going to see the Prius come back to the fore next time out. But more of that momentarily as we look at this. I've always loved the look of this car, this little Lotus. It's been developed using, the wind tunnel model they developed this using originally was made of clay, which is quite unusual. It's a very old-fashioned way of doing it. They used a smaller scale wind tunnel. They've now used a better wind tunnel for it as the driver hugs the car. He is, of course, very happy to have won the race. And I don't know if RJ O'Connell is in the chat on YouTube, because I am. I just want to find out if that is actually the first win for the car. I don't have my record books in front of me, as we normally do. So I would like to see if that is genuinely the first race. So RJ, if you're in the chat, let us know. And if you are in the chat and you haven't hit like, because there's 5,000 of you in watching live at the moment, and you haven't hit like and subscribe, please do. There's 2 fingers. 3 fingers, 4 fingers, lots of fingers, 5. I can count.
Nice to see the flags getting an airing as well, Sam.
Indeed, and we will talk about their flagging technique in a moment. It is a very crucial skill to be running in Super GT. Look at those wristbands, 2 different colours. That's an interesting technique. 1 hour 43 minutes and 16 seconds, 0.4 was the race duration. 66 laps, 300 kilometers of Fuji Speedway. Not all that much slower than you'd expect for a Formula 1 race around here.
No.
Which is, shows the real speed of these GT cars. We're going to hear from Bertie Baguette. Now, I'm interested to, I'm pretty sure Baguette is going to speak in English.
Bertrand, you made a great job at the very first stage. You made a big gap. How was that?
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very hard first in. We knew we had a really good car in the race. We just had to overtake kind of 8 in front. It was not easy. Niraj did a good job, but I finally overtook him after 10 laps, and then I started to push as much as I could, and I could make a big gap, and yeah, that was really nice. And then Kodai just finished the job. He drove really well as well, like just maintaining that gap. First win for Honda front engine, so it's from us, so it's very nice and very proud of that.
まあですね、スタートしてですね、自分の
So
車
that's
が
the
調子いいのは分かってるん
translation
ですけど、
of what Bertrand Baguette is saying to the Japanese fans watching on J Sports, but we don't need to translate that to you. I could translate it into French, but my French is terrible. And the questions are still coming. And Bertrand is waiting to see if he gets us a second question.
For you, especially for the coronavirus things, that you worry about that coming back to the Japanese racing, but that you made back to the winning here.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. It's a really hard time for me, you know, because like I'm far from my family. I'm kind of stuck in Japan. I cannot see them anymore for I don't know how many months, but to get this win is a big motivation. My team did a fantastic job, Kodai as well. It's the best motivation to continue the season. You know, we have a big target this year. We want to win the championship, so it's a perfect way to start our championship as we did 0 points first race, and we will keep pushing from here.
Again, he's just translating what you already heard in a French accent. I don't know if he's translating it in a French accent in Japanese. I don't think he would, because that would be silly. He's just translating in a Japanese accent. Probably a Tokyo accent, because that's where he's from. And we're going to hear from the rest of the team momentarily, the Keihin team manager and the other winning drivers. They're just waving to their, I'm not sure who they're waving to, their friends. They're not. There's no fans here, so it's not waving to the fans. Thank you, says Goodeye.
そうですね。今までで一番誰とも戦ってない自分となんかマシンとすごく会話
He's
し
just
なが
saying
ら
the car was good. He's basically saying the same as Bertie Baguette said, actually. It was difficult and he drove well and he's really impressed by the machine and it's great to win and he's very happy.
このままねギャップ使い切っちゃうんじゃないかってすごい。
That was really cool, he just said. He said thank you. He's thanking some of the team and the mechanics. And thanking Bertie Baguette for doing a good job in the car. And thanking Bertie Baguette again. That always really Wait a minute, was that shouty man John? In the background, I don't know how he's managed to get in the circuit. If that's shouty man John, that's quite impressive. Maybe he's been given a special pass to come to the track. As we hear from Katsumoto Kaneshi, the team director. You can see he's very happy. And I'm currently trying to listen to what's going on in the background as well as what he's talking about. This is the usual stuff. He's happy with the car and it was very good and great result for Honda. Wearing a Sev Racing core necklace around his neck. They're supposed to improve human performance somehow. Very popular by people who race in Super GT.
まあできればね、ケインさんの地元のサキとでもやりたかったですね。やりたかったですね。これ見せたかったですね。そうですね。まあバーチャルで見せられるような感じもしますけども、おめでとうございました。以上です。
So thank you is what he said at the end of that interview as I got distracted and started listening to something else. Sorry. So the translations, as ever, are completely accurate, genuinely and honestly. I would never mislead people as to what the people are saying in the interviews.
I used to think you made all that up, Sam, but only recently, since our last trip to Japan, did I realise that you understood Japanese and French so fluently.
And Chinese and German and Swiss German as well, actually. Oh, here comes the excitable Amy. Oh, there's the trophy. Hiroki Kato, going to be the first driver we hear from.
まずは優勝本当におめでとうございます。
はい、ありがとうございます。
加藤選手ご自身にとって GT300 クラスでは2010年以来10年ぶりの優勝となります。
It's your debut win. Are you happy about it? Yes, he says.
そんなことないです。勝てて本当に嬉しいです。
He's talking about basically how he won the first race and he's quite happy about that.
まあタイヤがね本当に持つかどうかわかんないところでちょっと無理もできずにまあ61号車にとって前行かれたんですけど。
It was a good battle early in the race, and they were challenged hard, but they pushed hard to the end. And in the second stint, it worked out quite nicely, and it was really cool to be out the front. Thank you, says Amy.
柳田正隆選手にお話を伺いたいと思います。柳田選手復帰して2戦目にして優勝です。
Similar questions to Masataka Yanagida about your first win in the Lotus.
まあ勝てなかったし、まあ久々にこう3年ぶりに GT 参戦して、まあ2戦目でねこうやって。
He seems less happy actually. He's just sort of saying it's his first win in GT and it was good. But yeah, it was very good. The drive from his teammate. He thanks him for a good performance.
まずはお返しできたのかなっていうふうに思いますし、まあこれまでもねここに来るまで横浜タイヤさんだったり。
The Yokohama tie did well, and that's what they expected. They could go longer on it, but it worked well for them. So at the end of the straight, it was doing well.
そのラップタイムとかはね随時聞いてて、まあただ61号車も速かったっていうのは分かったし、それに抜かれないように一生懸命走りました。チームがね、まあ加藤さんもファーストスティントもそう。
But it was all about getting the best lap time, of course, which is always the way. But we could just push it, but he saved it towards the end because they were opening up a bit of a gap. But the Subaru was coming at them. Now Amy's asking the team principal, who I believe to be Makoto Goto, yes it is, who is the importer of Lotus cars into Japan. And Japan is one of the biggest markets for Lotus cars in the world. And that was a very quick interview. I didn't listen to it, so no idea what he said.
He said
thank you. Well done, she said. Yeah, well done. And is what Amy said at the end there. It's great to see Amy back on Super GT as well. We were hoping to be chatting with her in real time from the track as well, but that didn't happen. But there's the cloudy skies, and that must mean one thing, the provisional result. The Keihin NSX won round 2 with Bertie Baguette and Tsukakoshi at the wheel from the AU Toms GR Supra. The Wacos 4CR GR Supra was in 3rd position. The keeper Toms GR Supra was in 4th position. The Raybrig NSX 5th. Calsonic Impul GTR in 6th position. 7th was the Denso Cabelco Saab GR Supra. The Zent Supra 8th. The Craft Sports GTR was in 9th position, and the Motul Ortiek GTR rounded out the points finishers in 10th position. Suge Matsuda and Ronnie Quintarelli having a rather quiet race. And further down the order were some more cars. They're reading through this quite slowly, I think, on J Sports. Rob. No, still looking at the top 10. Oh, here we go, the rest of the finishers. In 11th position, it was the Red Bull Motul Mugen NSX. The Realised Corporation Advan GTR with Jann Mardenborough at the wheel of that, 12th position. 13th was the Modulo NSX. The Arta NSX was in 14th position, and in 15th was the other car. The Cintium Apple Lotus debut win in GT300 from the Subaru BRZ, which hunted it down to 1.5 seconds at the end of the race. Nearly got in, but that double wave yellow could have stopped a battle on the finish line. The Arta NSX GT3 in 3rd position. The Leon Pyramid AMG Mercedes in 4th. The Realised Nissan in 5th. 6th position was the Saitama Toyopet GR Supra GT, 60 kilos of ballast on that, really great result. 7th position was the Modulo NSX. The Hitos Tsuyama Audi R8 was in 8th. 9th position was the Advix MC86, expecting more from that actually. And 10th position was the Aston Martin Vantage. Cosolino there in the seat for Nicky Tim. And we'll go right through the entire GT300 field, from 11th down to 20th. The Impul GTR in 11th, 12th position for the Team Mac GT86 to run up. GTR in 13th, 14th was the Takanoko Lexus. Oh, they're going through it really quickly. And there's the finishing order from 21st down to 28th. And the last car on that list didn't actually finish. And we're going to see the championship points now. And look how close it is up top. 36 car 36 and car 37. Cassidy and Fenestraz separated by just a single point. Third position, Oshima and Tsuboi, Baguette and Tsukakoshi move up into fourth with that win today. Tachigara and Ishiura, 11 points. Yamamoto and Makino on 11th. Nakayama on the 10th on his own due to driver changes in the 39 car. Kenta Yamashita's got 6. Kohei Hirata and Chio have got 6 points as well. Daiki Sasaki and Hiramin have 6 points too. Leading GT300 are Yoshida and Kawai in the 52 car, ahead of Kaito and Yanagida, who won the race today in the Lotus. Hironaka and Yasuda, they had that terrible finish to the race in the Gainer Tanax GTR. Iguchi and Yamuchi in the 61 car, that's the Subaru, with 15 points. Tied on points with them as well is the Honda number 55. As we still look at the
great to
sky.
see
We're getting ready for the podium.
I was going to say, great to see the Green Brave Toyota still managing to maintain their championship lead, Sam, despite that 60 kilos of ballast, as we have a look at some of the highlights.
Yeah, we are. And this was really, for me, the big highlight for me was actually this battle in GT300. And those listening to the commentary would have gathered I quite like GT300 racing. And the battle between the Lotus and the Subaru, which really kicked off on lap 1 with the involvement of that MC86 as well, was just brilliant to watch for the entire duration of the race. It strung out a little bit at the end, but the Subaru was just biding its time, and because of that Gainer Tanax problem, it just missed out. But this battle too was very good early on. Still some speculation, Rob, that was this team orders where we saw that position get shuffled.
Yeah, possibly. It did look a little bit easy. There was no team orders going on here, though, with the Toyotas battling really, really hard. There's the Lotus coming back out of the pits after his stop, and that was the gap. It went out to 7 seconds, came down to 4, and then, as you said, Sam, stayed like that until almost the last lap of the race.
And there was a yellow Prius, because that was mandatory, and it was the yellow Prius that actually put off the Arta NSX in GT500. So that yellow Prius really did play a role, and that anger from the driver there was palpable. Another great battle was this between the Wacos rookie car and Jann Mardenborough in the Calsonic car. Just bumping and boring, but getting past there by Nick Cassidy as well. Looking at just watching that again, I'm not sure it was Cassidy in the car, but that was a very near spin from the keeper Tom's Supra, as well as the Keihin NSX won the race, as did the Lotus, taking its debut victory. I don't think that's going to be the last race. I'm going to say it here. I don't think that's going to be a last race win this year for the Lotus.
Now, it's so kind on its tyres. The Yokohama rubber seems to give them really good performance. And like you say, there's no reason why it couldn't win again. And terrific result for the team from Hethel.
Absolutely. Well, the team's not from Hethel, but the car
sort of vaguely
what I mean. Is, even though I think the badge on that car was actually from Hethel. From Lotus. It does use an actual genuine Lotus Evora badge, and I think that's the only component on the car that was actually manufactured by Lotus.
I know we've had this conversation before. I always try and think of any other parts. That I think the fuel filler flap, oh no, that's definitely going to be made of carbon, and you sort of go through all the things in your mind. And yep, I think badge, you're on a safe bet there, but everything else manufactured in-house. Amazing. Looking at the weather here again today, Sam. The humidity has kept the sun at bay, but great not to see any rain.
Yeah, you can just see the edge of Mount Fuji there. But don't forget, this isn't the last of live racing on the-race.com today. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because coming up this week, on the 16th of August, 2 races, it's not today actually, but 2 races from the British GT Championship live at Donington Park. But also there's going to be some great videos coming up later on this afternoon, or if you're in Europe this evening, all the reaction from the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone. There's going to be some great news. Now we're seeing a replay of something here. What is this we're looking at, Rob? That was the spin. Yeah. But look, this is something we didn't see.
Recovering very gingerly away from the scene of the crime was the GT500 Calsonic car.
Oh yes, and that is why he fell down the order suddenly late in the race. Depending on the circumstances, that could incur a moral hazard penalty. But that music, that theme tune, that great sound, it means it's time for a Super GT podium. And Such a great fanfare and a scratch card. And look at all of those wonderful trophies. First up, I think we will be seeing the top 3 drivers, the drivers of the top 3 cars in GT300. And some very, very happy Lotus drivers a long way from Norfolk. I'd love to see that car actually in England, though. I'd love to, or Europe, and so see some of these GT300 cars have at it around the track at Heffel, which you were driving around the other day.
There's a hashtag. It's a long way from Norfolk.
I wonder what they'd make of Coleman's mustard. And I'd wonder if anybody else.
I think they quite like it. You know, when you've grown up all your life having sushi, you know, I think they quite like the yellow variety rather than the green. There's our GT300 drivers.
Oh, well, an interesting approach, because you can see the team, this is the debut victory for the team, no flags whatsoever. Disappointing performance there from Subaru, who are congratulating the Lotus drivers. Fist bumps, because you're not allowed to shake hands with the current pandemic situation.
There was almost a handshake there. He went for the handshake and thought, oh no, that's morally careless.
And now look at the expression from the Honda drivers here. They're looking at the other two saying, where are your flags? They had 0 flags from neither Subaru, who you'd expect to have flags, and Cintium. Well, now, obviously, with no podium girls on the podium and no Mr. Orange Jacket on the podium, the drivers have to pick up their own trophies. But these are very fine trophies, these Fuji Speedway ones. And as I say every time we have a race at Fuji Speedway, what a lovely etching they have. Rob doesn't know what to make of that.
I was just giving them a moment of respect. I thought our abuse should stop. Sorry, our commentary should stop just for a moment.
I like the matching face masks.
Yeah, there we have the Auto Backs trophy for the winning GT300 class cars from the series sponsor.
That is a trophy they will treasure. They will also, perhaps, are they going to get the scratch card in GT300? Or is that going to go to the GT500 winner? It's behind them, as if to tantalise them. Yes, they've got it. Yes, they have won the scratch card. So that is 500,000 yen to the winners. That's plenty of money. I'd say you could spend that in the convenience store at Gatemba Station, so you can buy yourself some beer and some nibbles for the train ride back to Tokyo at the end of the day. But Super GT teams and drivers are not allowed to use public transport because of the growing pandemic, and they're trying to keep a Super GT paddock bubble going on, so they will have to drive home. So they'll have to enjoy their drinks responsibly when they get back to the base or wherever it is they live. And they're all going to stand up now with their trophies, the scratch cards. They're going to pick up 2 trophies at once, wave some flags for the official pictures. This is quite difficult for the drivers when they've got all these trophies and the flags and the scratch card for the photo, which will be featured on the Super GT website, possibly on We Are The Race, and also or definitely in Autosport Japan and other Sané Shobo magazines. I do like those.
You just run out of hands, don't you, Sam?
You really do. Oh, look, they've got the flags going and the trophies. That's impressive. There's their team members looking very pleased about the result. Very pleased about the result, in fact. Very happy about that. It's good to see this car winning, though. It's been a bit of a favourite of mine since it came into the sport. I remember when its first race, I sat down with the guy who designed it, and he was really keen to chat about the engineering on it. And yeah, it's great to see after a few seasons it's come good. This car too, the team behind it, been talking to them over years, the Subaru BLZ team, since that got brought into the series. Nice to see how that car develops with its former WRC spec engine. And the NSX, 3rd position. And good to see Honda's GT3 car doing well.
Yeah, lovely mix of cars on the podium.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we've got a mother chassis car. In fact, it's a full slate, isn't it? You've got the mother chassis car winning the race. You've got the JAF GT300 car in 2nd, and you've got a GT3 car in 3rd. Interestingly, 2 Japanese marks and an English mark, but all of the cars designed and built in Japan. They're preparing for the GT500 podium and taking away the trophies for GT300. I don't know, do you think Fuji Speedway feel a bit put out that some of the drivers left their trophies behind? I would.
I honestly miss the sporting goods, Sam. I think a podium is not complete without a set of golf clubs, a canoe, maybe a basket of rice even.
Well, the next race we might see some of that. We'll be talking about the calendar to come very shortly as we get ready to look back at some of the highlights of the race. But as we're just looking at this camera, that's just because we're looking to find some GT500 drivers. Getting drivers to the podium in Super GT, it's rather like herding cats. There is the advert for the Takanoko Hotel. We'll look at that while the drivers are being arranged into the correct order, which for racing drivers isn't always an easy thing to do.
It does seem really strange, Sam, doesn't it, looking at an empty Fuji Motor Speedway. It's such strange times that we're all living through. You know, the energy in this place, the buzz from the passionate crowd just makes Super GT, and there's definitely something missing from the paddock. It's a great shame.
Also going to be missing is spectators at the Indy 500 coming up later this month. And the guys at We Are the Race and the-race.com on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, will be looking forward to that spectator-free Indy 500. But before that, the Keihin NSX race winners and GT500, Bertrand Baguette, there with 2 flags and looking quite happy as well. It's the AU Tom's crew, single Toyota Gazoo Racing flag. And in third position, it's the Wacos Team Rookie crew taken to the podium. All Bridgestone podium, and fairly unusual to see in Super GT actually. You need to get a bit of a mix of podium, but tyres on the podium. You get to see different colour caps for that. Also fairly unusually, the scratch card hasn't gone to the GT500 race winner, but I'm very pleased it did go to the Lotus. So no scratch card for the Keihin drivers. They'll have to buy their own beer and nibbles when they get back home this evening. Excellent drive from the Honda crew, I thought, today, Rob.
Yeah, very good indeed. Their job was made slightly easier by the Arta car spinning off as he came out of the pits on cold tyres, but a very, very strong first stint there from Bertie Baguette to get the lead, as he said, on lap 10, then stretch it out. And his teammate was in the right place at the right time on the right temperature tyres. And yeah, a relatively straightforward victory. And good to see the dominance of the Toyotas broken so early in the season.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's also a bit of an endorsement for Super GT's success ballast system as well. With the fuel flow changes, we'll talk about that a bit more. We didn't talk about it in the race really, but there were some changes to the fuel flow system. It just works, doesn't it? I mean, Super GT's just got this right, and those drivers all agree. Waving. Oh, I like the little, take the picture and wave the flag gently. That's very nice from Sasha Fenestraz. Oh, and he's trading it like a baby. He's very happy with that trophy.
What a curious young man.
Yes. So he's gone back to his single flag.
He leads the Super GT Championship now, and he's every right to be happy just by a single point. But hey, he leads the championship, and that's what counts.
It is a long way to go in this championship, and whilst he does lead it, indeed, he's going to have to work very, very hard, not least against his own teammates in the other Tom's Supra, who are running very big success ballast here. They'll have big success ballast for the next race, and we should have that on the screen in a moment when the Super GT TV director decides to give us the date of the next race. Meanwhile, let's talk about these 3 cars. Rob, driver of the race.
Bertrand Baguette.
Interesting.
Yep. Solid job, professional, man trapped away from home, a lot of respect for him, always have done. He's won pretty much everything there is to win on the single-seater ladder, and a great solid job from a man who's at a difficult time. So no, Bertrand Baguette gets my vote for driver of the day.
I'm going to go different to you. I'm going to say Masataka Yanagida, driving the number 2 Lotus. He delivered the first victory to that car, opened up the gap, and brought it home to a successful finish for the first time for that team, and opened up the gap over the Subaru, even after a late race challenge. I was going to go for Daiki Sasaki. However, he had that little bit of a boo-boo on the final lap, which caused the number 11 car to spin around. We think. We didn't actually see the incident. We just know he was involved.
Yeah, I was thinking Ryo Hirakawa as well, because he was always in the mix and was sort of punching hard from time to time. And we'll see more of Ryo Hirakawa and Nick Cassidy, I'm sure, on the podium as the year goes on. But no, I think for me, Bertrand Baguette sort of drove home Honda's pre-season form book, and yeah, that was the reason, really.
Well, Super GT on the-race.com isn't going to be away from your screens for long. In fact, this is going to be a little bit of a month of a Japanese motorsport for all of you on hashtag Team No Sleep. We have another Super GT race coming up at Suzuka Circuit, round 3 of the championship, and the first not at Fuji Speedway. That will take place on August the 23rd and will be live in full and uninterrupted here on the-race.com. But also, that is not the end of the story. We also have Super Formula. The first race of the season is coming up on the-race.com just before the end of the month. So stay tuned for that one as well. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because this is your new home for Japanese motor racing. And what a home it has been today. It's been a fantastic race here at Fuji Speedway, where a man got into a car in slow motion. A man lost the colour from his camera and played with his gloves. The sepia tint was abandoned. There was an out of focus headlight, but it faded into focus, and it was a Supra. There was a bird. There was a Zensarumo car. There was a Honda. There was a GT300 car. There was another bird. There was the Wacos car. There was the Hoppy Porsche. A man fell asleep. A man woke up. We got a new theme tune. They stood like heroes. The race started. There was a battle. It was close. There were fists. There were passing maneuvers. There were trains of cars. There was a fence, some gloves, some lights, a spin, an annoyance. That'll be an interesting conversation. Some wheel spin, some looking, some Suzuki, some battling, some Cassidy, clapping politely, some thumbs up, a Lotus Evora, a Subaru, some eyeballs, some sunglasses, another Lotus Evora, some tension, some victory, some happiness, and some great entertainment. The Keihin NSX winning for the first time this season, the second round of the 2020 Super GT season. I've been Sam Collins, and I've been joined by Rob Barff. You have been watching Super GT on the-race.com. Join us again in 2 weeks' time for Suzuka. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the race.
And the lights are out. Great start then.
The Moto2 champion steps into the team that's dominating the championship.
I'm Scott Mitchell from the race. We're here at Barcelona.
Sebastian Vettel is fighting for his career.
There has to be a title assault, and anything less will be a failure.
Oh, and a spin!
You lost the GoPro.